Anzac rounds, boys, in both the AFL and Rugby League. However, tackling or unusual tackling techniques continue to dominate the headlines. Hip drops in the NRL and slings and bumps in the AFL. We are watching Richmond and the D's at the moment. It is Anzac Eve and previewing a massive, massive day in the Australian calendar and in the Australian sporting calendar. Tomorrow with the Pies and Dons in the AFL, and then the Dragons, Roosters, Storm, Warriors in the league. Cricket, IPL runs galore and some Aussies shining at Maxi, at Cam Green. NBA playoffs. Fiery encounters, including some of D's nuts action in the Nets and 76ers. Plus, light that beam. They did take a 2-0 advantage, but the Dubs have gone even Stevens. Injury to the Greek Freak means that the Bucks are a game behind there. Plus, some soccer chat. City are really in the box seat. Arsenal got an uphill battle after a bit of a bottling overnight. Manchester Derby in the FA Cup and the Champions League semi-finals upcoming, plus a On The Esky final round with fights, LIV Golf, and an undefeated boxer in Ryan Garcia taking an L. G'day and welcome to On The Esky, an Aussie sports podcast. We love our Aussie sports, but we also have a bit of an international taste in our sporting repertoire. Check us out on the socials, and if you're watching us here on YouTube, you can skip to the sports that you like with the time stamps. We like to shout a beer to get the show underway. Shauno, who will you be shouting a beer this week?
I decided to shout a beer out to Jalen Hurts because he's gotten the bag, and a big bag. I was just looking up his numbers. It was $255 million with 180-ish guaranteed. So he didn't get the Deshaun Watson guaranteed kind of money, but he got up there with one of the highest. His average a year is 51 mil, which makes him the highest averaging quarterback for that extension, for his 5-year extension. Though it's interesting, his cap number over that time frame isn't as high as well, so it actually doesn't hurt the team as much compared to, say, I think that the meme doing the rounds of Daniel Jones, he was almost like double to triple what Hurts is going to cost over the next 4 years, which is crazy against the cap. So they've done a good job against the cap, and then they'll keep it rolling. So, yeah, one of those running type quarterbacks that had, question marks. There's a certain other one that's been struggling for his deal. This will be a great framework for them for actually getting that Lamar deal done as well, because it kind of shows, even a guy that went to the Super Bowl and Hurts couldn't get quite, the Deshaun Watson deal, but also the Deshaun Watson deal was, throw all the money at you so you come to the Browns kind of thing. So it was, interesting, but big shout out beer from me here for Hurts for getting all the money after a great season and getting the Eagles to the Super Bowl.
A lot of money now, big deal up there, surpassing names like Mahomes and Rodgers in money per year. So it's going to be interesting to see how Jalen Hurts takes that on board, and if he is going to continue to cop he's just a running back kind of rhetoric.
I think after last season it's kind of shown that he is a quality talent. He's got more receiving options, and we'll talk when we get to the NFL draft. All the rumours are that the Eagles are going to be hunting running backs after Miles Sanders. He did leave during free agency, I believe, so they've got some room there. It'll be an interesting time ahead for the Eagles. And I'll finish and say Alonso potentially dating Taylor Swift was very interesting news.
Is it F1 Alonso?
Yeah, F1 Alonso, Fernando Alonso, that is. Dating not super younger, but the younger Taylor Swift, but two mega names. One of my motors,
half your age plus 7, he's all right.
Motorsport legend, and then singing Queen Bee as you would, and Taylor Swift.
I think that's a different singer.
Yeah, it's Beyonce, but anyway, we'll keep going.
Queen T.
Yeah, Queen T. T Swift. So yeah, that was a bit of an interesting tidbit during the F1's holiday season. Whether it's real or not, we don't know, but there was a massive rumor doing its rounds.
I wonder what the song will be called when they inevitably break up. It will be something F1 based.
Yeah. All speed, too fast or something like that.
Yeah, there we go. All right, I will shout a beer to Wrexham, the most famous fifth fifth tier soccer club in the world, I'd say, mostly thanks to the Disney Plus show Welcome to Wrexham, which follows Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney.
I think a certain owner is one of the big reasons.
I'd say so. But they've done their job this year. They've finished on top of the National League, which is the fifth division, fifth tier. And they will go up to English League 2, which has 4 promotions available to go to English League 1, and then the Championship, and then the Premier League. So in theory, we could see Wrexham up in the Premier League in 3 years' time.
In theory.
In theory. But no, massive effort from them and going through, and might have to give the documentary a bit of a run. We were actually chatting before the show, and none of us have actually seen it, so it's pretty rare for a sporting documentary to go unwatched by all three of us. Yeah, slip through. So we'll have to get stuck into that one.
I just seen here the first time they've played outside the fifth tier since 2008.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that probably is very close to the sort of time frame that they took over the club, isn't it? When are they?
Oh, no, it's only for the last few seasons.
I'm trying to find that.
2 if that.
Yeah. Present 2020. There you go.
You're close.
Yep. Somewhere in between there. That's it. Speaking of National League, just looking at the records here, it was quite a stellar league season for the league all around. So Wrexham did get the most wins in the season. Also fewest defeats, and this is record all time for National League as well. They also had the most points in a season, obviously going along with the most wins. But Notts County, who came second in the league, also scored the most goals and had the highest goal difference ever in the league as well. So,
bit of domination up the top there.
Yeah.
We're also looking at a pre-show. Notts County, the Magpies, black and white stripes.
Bit of history lesson.
Yeah. We're actually the inspiration for Juventus' black and white stripes. Now, I always thought it was Newcastle United that inspired Juventus, but no, it's Notts County. And there you go. There's a bit of trivia for you your Monday night.
So I'm just trying to find a bit more history on this club. They were in League One at one point, and they slid out of that. I was just seeing if they went any higher than League One, but it's a bit hard. They have a 158-year history, which is 2 years less than what we were talking about before. What was it?
Notts County.
Notts County, yeah.
And what about Grimsby? Good movie.
Gotta throw that in.
I'll just
we'll talk about Grimsby when we get to the FA Cup.
That's it.
Jimmy, who are you shouting a beer?
Yeah, so I'm going across the US. I'm stealing your thunder this week and going to the MLB. I'm going to get some baseball chat in there. So off the field antics, Liam Hendricks. I'm shouting him a beer this week for beating cancer. So got diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma about 5 months ago and has been going through rounds of chemotherapy. And over the weekend had announced that he'd gone in remission and is cancer-free as we speak. So, yeah, he's a pitcher for the Chicago White Sox, Australian, which I didn't know at the time, which was cool story behind that. 3-time All-Star Games, was all MLB Team 2 2019. So has had pretty good career in the last few seasons. Unfortunately, had to take a step back from the game. Need to work back into being fit to play baseball again. Hopefully he's back on the field soon. Yeah.
Slater is his nickname. Fan of North Melbourne Football Club. You can't have wins and everything in life, can you? But
that's interesting. He's from Perth.
Yeah. Good on you, in all seriousness, there, Liam Hendricks. And, hopefully see him out there on the mound, sending some down in our favourite sport in the Major League Baseball. All right, jumping over to the mop of the week.
Mop of the week.
Turns out betting in the NFL is a big no-no. Anyone that follows the league will know that Calvin Ridley undid his season last year, but now we've got a few more names to add to the list. Shauna, you got the story?
Yeah, so the NFL suspended 5 players for violating the league. Stanley Berryhill do you say
Quintez Cephas, I think.
Cephas, CJ Moore, and Shaka Tony.
Shaka That's such a good name. Defensive end Shaka Tony.
So the big one, though, was Jameson Williams
Yes.
from the Lions, first round pick of last year. He got a 6-game suspension, as did Barry Hill, who got 6 games. The others were indefinite. So my understanding, based on what they were saying, is that the indefinites is most likely going to be a year, and probably because they bet on NFL games. The guys that got 6 weeks didn't bet on NFL games, but bet on, say, the other major sports, while
in an NFL
NFL facility. So
yeah.
and that includes locker room, team flight, or a team hotel, which is quite interesting. So it looks like Williams might have thrown a bet on an NBA game or something, or a UFC fight, while on the plane or on the or in the team locker room, and that's, I guess once the betting agencies provides the NFL with basically whatever they want because, the NFL's got a little bit of sway, so they obviously get the, time of bet, location of bet, etc. when that's done. So, they've reported on it, and these 5 have been caught out. So I think it's pretty interesting, and you would have thought kind of silly from the NFL players, considering Calvin Ridley last year.
Mate, they got made an example of over a $1,500 bet, which, is really chump change for them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And, on the scheme of things, wasn't, potential match fixing like some of the conversations this week out of the Australian-India tour, with some of the Indians saying they had been approached by certain people to, fix potential parts of the game.
The subcontinent and match fixing, some things just go together like peas and carrots, Jenny.
Yes. But, American sport's very new to gambling at stage, and this is why, the NFL threw the book at Ridley, and they've followed through with the same sort of punishment for the same action here for those 3, and the other 2. 6 games is a large part of the season, so it's nothing to sniff at, but at least for a guy like Williams, he's like, hopefully learn a lesson. I shouldn't be doing this in anything NFL related. This is only at home in the park. Away from anything NFL affiliated.
That's it. Well,
it's an interesting rule, though. But
it is, because they're betting on other sports outside of the NFL. It's a little bit strange. And the whole thing, like the team hotel as well.
Because you can see it, the boys are sitting around, they may be watching a sport, and it's like, let's jump on this one, and they whack a bet on it. And and they get caught out.
But the players know, they get briefed. So in that sense,
they also should
a bit
know
silly.
better.
Unfortunately for Lions fans as well, had one of their better years in recent memory, and now they lose a few of their young stars and 2 receivers. So, Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe his fantasy value has just gone even further up. He's been pretty handy over the last 2 seasons.
Definitely. Well, the Lions also released Quincy Cephas and CJ Moore as well.
So they're Gonskis.
They're Gonskis.
So that's cost them possibly a career.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're definitely cracking down hard on that one.
Well, let's hope they pull big with those bets they put on.
Don't need to work anymore anyway.
Chag the 16-leg multi.
Yes.
Or a parlay, as they call it over there. Parlay.
Yes. Cool. That's mock done. I think we're running to the NRL. Jimmy.
Anzac Round, boys, started off with a bang back on Thursday night. South getting a great win over Penrith, 20-18 at Accor Stadium. Really good game of footy this. Big shots all around, and a lot of domination from Stephen Crichton, who I think scored all 18, I'm pretty sure, for Penrith.
Well, on the flip side, Latrell as well, following on from last week's form, and I think we said it a couple of weeks ago, he started off the season quiet, but as soon as we start talking about Origin, he'll start heating up. And as we did, as soon as we started talking about Origin chat coming around, he's been putting teams to the sword, playing absolute unreal at the back there for Souths.
Trelly Mitt, 2 tries, 5 tackles, 14 tackle busts in one game, 111 metres gained. It was Trell's world out there. And Souths have been able to beat Penrith pretty consistently in regular season games over the last few years. Obviously, different story when it comes to the finals. But yeah, it's going to be interesting come later on in the year whether these two teams feature. Deep into September. It'll be interesting.
I think so. Looking at where we currently are in the season, these two are the best teams out of Sydney. I think Roosters are probably
they've been unders.
Yeah, bit unders. Yeah.
Sharks have been unders.
Yeah, exactly. So these two are right where they kind of want to be. They're starting to play really, really good football, and it'll be interesting. How they go through that origin period, as we mentioned before, when half their teams kind of disappear to play for New South Wales or Queensland.
Mm-hmm. Forgot about Manly. Manly also been pretty good.
Yeah, but I still think these two are ahead of them.
Yep, I think that's fair assessment.
Like Manly beat the Tigers by
just
6.
Just,
so,
yeah.
And they really rely on a single bloke as well, whereas I think the other two are more of a complete team. Their lists are great top to bottom. That's my point on them being the two best out of Sydney.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. The best team in the comp at the moment is the Brizzy Broncos, getting another win up there in Darwin. I think 3 or 4 years in a row that this fixture's gone up there. Counts as a Parramatta home game, so they must be getting a bit of money from NT government or whoever to take it up there because the conditions seem to suit the Broncos pretty well.
The only reason they go up there is so Arthurs can drink 60 bottles of water during the game, so because he needs to stay hydrated in the humidity.
Okay. It was an interesting game actually. It was a really strong first half from the Bronx, and then the rain came pouring down in the second half. And it's hip drops. We got to talk about them again. Have you seen these?
Yes. Ezra Mann got sin bin for his.
I don't know that was a classic hip drop motion, but it was also 1-on-1, and he's the smaller man in the tackle, so I don't know really what you're meant to do in that circumstance. Nil injury to Matt Dory.
I didn't see Hopgood's one, but he got sin bin as well for a hip drop. Payne Haas didn't get sin bin for a hip drop, but it definitely looked like hip drop motion, but he doesn't land on RGC's legs.
And there was a lot of momentum again.
Yeah.
Regal
Camagillard's going for the try line to score, and Haas is kind of pulling him from behind to stop him. Tackling from behind, we've talked about that guy kind of breaking through the line a little bit, is where a lot of this kind of motion comes from. But this one, interesting, wasn't sin bin. He's been suspended for a game. But RGC's legs kind of splayed out, and there's reports he's got a hip fracture and he's probably out 8 to 10 weeks as well. So that's a big out for him. He'll miss the whole of the origin period. So it's a big loss. But
what a tough mother as well. He walked off the field.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen. Maybe NRL physio might be one to chase up there for where the actual fractures occurred, but that is wild. Both Hassers and Hopgood defending their goal line as well. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you let the blokes run straight through on the goal line, and they score. Everyone would be saying, "Oh, what soft defence," and no one knows how to defend anymore.
There was another one in the first 10 minutes of this game. There was a Fegler one as well, where he 100% grabs the guy around the waist and drops his hips, and he has that sitting motion. Like it looks like he's sitting down because he's bum and legs out. He looks like he's sitting down, but he lands next to the guy. He doesn't roll up on the dude's legs. No injury, play on. And I'm kind of starting to think of maybe that's the way they have to police the hip drop. It's more of the you tackle in the motion of sitting down, doing a hip drop, and then landing and taking out the opposition's legs, like where you're kind of like rolling up on the guy. I think that's probably where they're going to land trying to make this less grey, is what I'm getting at.
It's very
grey at the moment, but, isn't it? As we go week on week, I kind of start to think of, I understand that. Yes, that causes a lot of injuries because we've seen a heap of them, and not just from this game, but across the league's games, there was a lot of other ones. So Jimmy's just throwing the pain.
So it's a hard one because it's wet. He sort of slides as well.
Yeah, but I think with Huss on this one, he doesn't really land on the back of his legs, and his legs is already spinning out. But I think if he rolls around further on that and then lands on the back of the dude's leg and is kind of like bending him, I think that motion of dropping all your weight on the back of a guy's legs is what I consider, classic case of hip drop. That's what I think, definitely what you want to get rid of and stamp out. And I think if you go to NRL Physio today, he had the one from the Storms game years ago, and it was I think it was on a Tigers dude, broke his legs and then played again.
So he hasn't got a fractured hip. He's
cleared of hip fracture. Oh, there you go. Cool.
High grade groin strain, complete tear. Still got to cost him 8 weeks.
Yeah. So, as we'll talk about Turbo in a minute, but as we continue, there's this one. No, that's Moment of Football. There's other things. That's Billy's story.
Billy's later at Cooper Broncos. Nothing else on the weekend.
10 years ago.
No, there was a Storm one that happened against the Tigers quite a while ago. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But there's been hip drops all over the place throughout the year, and they're kind of getting more used to it in the NRL in this season as we get now. That's kind of where I think the hip drop. Tackle will be more of like dropping all your weight and then landing on the back of a guy's legs essentially. And I can see where they affiliate that, but I think that's where they then the rest of the season these guys will then have to learn if tackling and trying to get a guy to the ground is my body position not on their legs, not on their leg area. I've got to land more towards the side of a guy and drag him down. Versus landing on the back of the legs and kind of a few of them look like judo tosses, like hip tosses. Yeah. And that's how you kind of get have the legs as that kind of motion because you're kind of trying to come in at his hip and flip him over you, and that's where you come in and you take the legs out. So I think less of that is maybe the direction they go. That's probably enough for me.
I'm sure it's not the last time we'll talk about it this season, the way that the league is going.
Yeah. And for anyone listening, remember that when we talk about AFL in a little bit, and then we come back about player health as a whole in Australian football.
Into Super Saturday, the Sharks get a win against the Doggies. Did anyone catch any of this? Not really.
So.
Let's have a look. Nico Hines, good as per usual. Water wet. Roll us into. I did catch a bit of this. The Cowboys.
They're a bit hurt, the Doggies, aren't they?
Cowboys and Knights. Yeah, actually, Monks, if you want to grab a injury list for the Dogs, it's extensive. Obviously, Fox, with that. It is syndesmosis. Have you got that list there?
Yep.
Yeah, Kiraz, Luke Thompson, Kikau. That's actually
Kikau's a big one.
That's this week, wasn't it?
Or maybe
I spoke about it last week.
Yeah,
so completely tore his pec at training. They're the biggest names, but also Farmuna Brown, Chris Patolo, Franklin Pele, Bailey Bindoni, Aldo. It's starting to get a little bit banged up in Belmore there.
A little bit, yeah. And a lot of those big injuries that are out for a fair while as well.
Yeah, for a lot of them,
Yeah, it's not good.
Not good at all.
They currently sit second last. Another team that's thankful for the existence of the West Tigers.
Yes.
Cowboys end a pretty lackluster month with a win against Newcastle in this one. Yes. This was close. What was I going to... No, it's not coming to mind. Dane Gagai, excellent. He's one that always...
same thing.
Same thing as Latrell. starts to really show up around Origin, or even just during Origin, to the bane of New South Wales fans. Dolphins Titans. I think that's probably the one that I wanted to talk about more. Yeah. I believe it was the biggest comeback in NRL era history.
Yes. Yeah, I believe that it was the case after being down 26-0. After
any early crowing in the group chat? We've got a little group chat for the podcast here, and I said something along the lines of Dolphins are hot garbage some weeks.
They're hot and they're cold.
They're hot and cold.
Perry, yes.
Yes, and then no. And they were hot and they're cold in this game.
Yeah, I love what they asked Wayne in the press conference post game. He's like, what did you say at halftime? And he's like, oh, yeah, not sure. I think I forgot a lot of it. So, weaving his magic as he will, he probably got stuck into the boys about being down at the Titans because they came out and played way better in the second half and did win this game by 2 points. I think the Robert Jennings no try, did you see that? Where he kind of pulled up, thought they had an extra tackle when he should have just dived over and get a try. Was the worst bomb try in this round. It was the Sharks that did it. One of the Sharks winger.
Mulitalo?
Mulitalo, yeah, that's the one.
I haven't seen it. I'm just like,
Sorry.
Shooter's going to shoot here.
Yeah, he dived for the line like he was in the action of scoring, and he put his hand down before he put the ball down and touched his hand on the line. It was out.
Yep.
So Robert Jennings said, hold my beer, I'll bomb this try worse. So doing him a solid. But yeah, they played really well, came back in this game. The forwards actually coming through big to get the big tries through the middle, kind of showing.
I've got the list there because for anyone that likes a little punt, as Pepe doesn't mind one, responsibly, of course. These were the try scorers in the game. Chris Randall, Isaac Louis, Big Tino, Tanner Boyd, Mark Nichols, Jared Wallace, Ewan Aiken, and then obviously the Robert Jennings double. So I think Aiken and Jennings are the only outside backs in that list. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 middle forwards, a hooker and a 7.
Yeah. It kind of shows this game was all the points
in the middle.
Through the middle, through tight defence. So, I guess the little G up that Wayne gave them was enough to put them over to, the win the trenches war, as you will, to get the win here. And it's a massive fins up after being fins down for a couple of weeks. And a lot of teams are saying, they've finally hit the brick wall. They're going to struggle for the foreseeable future as they kind of right the ship. But they, shown the class that is Wayne Bennett and how good of a coach is. He can even coach his way out of a 26 to nothing half time, drubbing at the moment.
Interesting matchup for Canberra people. They have the Raiders in Wagga next week. All right. The Tigers did a very Tigers thing and had a lead here at Campbelltown against Manly. And unfortunately for poor Tigers fans, I think I mentioned it a few weeks ago, it's almost like you feel sorry for Tigers fans these days. It's not
club decision.
Exactly. It's stop, he's already dead. Simpsons meme.
Yeah, no matter how shit your team's going, you're just happy you're not following the West Tigers.
Hey, Dragons fan.
Can't complain.
Rich. The big scare for Manly in this one was Tommy Turbo. His scans have come back all clear, so should be okay. There's a little bit of a brawl in the tunnel post game. This was involving Josh Aluai and Brandon Wakeham. Seems like Aluai definitely has a little bit of fire in his belly, often in the headlines for the wrong reasons.
After his name got fucked up, he's on his villain, his heel art. So
I'm probably not even saying it correctly. Probably saying it better than V'landys did.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you said Joshua to start with.
That's what he fucked his first name, didn't he? That's the layup, man.
Yeah. So I think some words were said about a potential, nastiness out on the pitch, a little bit of dog shots. So heated words were exchanged, maybe some push and shove. I don't think it amounted to too much. No Nate Diaz action here in the end of this one. But it was just an interesting kind of tidbit here that it kind of shows, I guess, the Tigers are very frustrated at the moment, considering they've played not too bad in some of the recent weeks and just can't find a way to win. And following on from that, Luke Brooks officially today hasn't won a game in 365 days.
I did say that.
Year.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So, it's pain there for the Tigers. I'm not sure if they're going to have much luck here. And it might cost, some of the guys they brought in, origin spots, particularly Appy, who will most likely get overlooked.
Well, Cookie was very good in
well, that's the thing.
South's
Like,
game,
Cookie's playing for Souths is playing really well. And
That's beach sprints, bro.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it a lot easier. It makes it a lot easier when it looks like your team's winning and playing well around you.
Definitely.
Before we get into Anzac preview, should we talk Jack Whiten?
Yeah, I think we have to because that was probably the biggest news story of player movements last week. It looks, for all intents, that there was a 2-horse race. It was Dolphins and Raiders. Raiders had thrown their 4-year, $4.4 million deal at him to play 6 for him. And then, Randy Orton out of nowhere, the RKO.
Out of nowhere.
The Souths popped up. And you think, well, why would the Souths need another 5'8"? They don't. They want to play him at left centre, which would be excellent for him because he'd play outside Walker and have Latrell out the back and Johnson next to him. So that's a pretty handy left side there.
Could you imagine that? Like 1 through 5.
Yeah.
We're talking Campbell Graham's praises non-stop on this.
Yeah.
Whew, that would be big. Obviously, Latrell and Jack are cousins.
And, friends, like not just...
Wrestling buddies.
Yeah. yes. Not just relations by blood, but also very close outside of that too. So the deal, I think, was 4 years, but it's 3.4, so 700K. So it would be a haircut for Jack to go to Souths. But then also after what Souths, I guess, did with Penrith and, at this point in his career, saying he's not going to play Origin. That was the other thing out of the last week was his rep career is officially over.
Yeah, not just Origin, rep career.
Yeah.
So
he just wants to focus on club footy, which I guess makes him a little bit more appealable for, those guys that want to throw millions of dollars at him to then, play a full season. So, and potentially win a comp. The whole point, let's win a comp. That's what he wants to do. He wants to win a comp, and that's where he's pushing. So Thursday, he flew to Queensland, met with Wayne Bennett. There was photos of him in the airport in Queensland coming back. Friday morning, so after Rabbits had their win, Latrell and their joint manager, because they both shared the same manager, had breakfast together. So there was reports there. Raiders are on a bye this week, so that's why he's flying around a bit. But it seems like the Dolphins have given them his final say. It sounds like Jack's been talking to Latrell about what should he do. Raiders, maybe a bit quiet and all this, but they've probably been hot on the phones as well, talking to him, trying to stay in contact. Their deal's on the table, the South deal on the table. So, this week we might have a decision of what Jack wants to do and where he wants to go. And after last week, all the reports have been it's now it's Souths or Finns, and Raiders might be a distant third because it's either move, enjoy the lifestyle of Queensland, play for 6, and maybe Wayne Bennett,
bit of cash,
maybe also with the Wayne Bennett and the team, maybe it's on its ascendancy. Who knows? We'll have to long season see how they go. Souths is like, we'll definitely play finals football and be deep finals football for the foreseeable future. But the Raiders is like, he's probably thinking it's like, if I leave, this team probably needs to have a full rebuild at that point.
Let's blow up the building if Jack goes.
They're kind of aging across the board. And
Jake stays, like, he's got to be the Jack. Sorry, don't know why I said Jake.
Did I say Jake?
No, I don't know.
Nah,
You said
it's
Jack.
purely me. Monday night. If he stays, then he's got to be the leader of the rebuild as well. So that puts a lot of pressure on him as well if he stays with the Raiders with no real hope next couple years of winning the NRL.
Yeah, and I wonder if something like the Dave Fafita, complete miss, where they tried to recruit him heavily, and basically his missus just said, "No, I don't want to move to Canberra." And
They'll blame the missus.
That's the report, essentially. I don't want to go live in Canberra versus Gold Coast, and you can understand that. But that's the problem, really. Canberra does struggle to recruit, attract kind of that outside talent. So again, if he's thinking, well, hey, Papa's getting long in the tooth, Rapana is also getting long in the tooth. Some of these guys have played with for a while. This isn't the team that went to the grand final a couple of years ago and then almost backed up and went to another grand final. They're going to have to bring new guys in. There's good young talent coming through, but it's like, can I wait for that young talent to be good enough to then make another run at it? Because you might have 4 or 5 more years left. This is probably his last big deal. Does he then go elsewhere? And I think the relationships with Latrell, the potential win there, I think that's probably the favourite. It's just where I want to take less money over that period to do it. And, if he does, all to him. Power to the man if he wants to win a comp.
I think you start thinking about legacy when you're 30 and you've really only got sort of 3-4 years left in you, most likely.
Yeah. So and I agree. And the flip side of that is also like we've got 3 or 4 more years in that. Let's capitalize as much money, make as much money, which would be Dolphins. So I think that's kind of where the Raiders kind of fall down is the distant third at the moment.
Well, probably not conspiracy theory, but what if Latrell Mitchell went to Dolphins as well?
Well, they just extended the hammer, so
yeah,
and that's I don't know from an affordability.
He's on big money with South.
When's he off contract?
He's like 2027.
Talking shit there, Jim. I think
It's a nice conspiracy there.
Yeah.
he loves Souths. I mean, but you know how many points South scores? That's a back line you want to be in. And if anything, the no names in the South guys would be maybe their centres, and you throw Jack in there. That just gives you another beast, another animal, because he's a huge guy that plays 6, and he'd be very, very good at centre. He was very good at centre before they switched him to 6. Anyway, so
all I've been doing is trying to think of a Latrell Mitchell conspiracy theory joke, and all my brains come up with does Trell fuel melt steel beams? That's probably not my worst, probably. It's far from my best.
yeah. That's pretty shocking.
All right, boys. Time will tell where Jack ends up, and what the Raiders have to do then if they lose their best player, essentially. But it's a massive day tomorrow in not just the sporting calendar, but in the Australian calendar. Anzac Day, and obviously us as Mad Sports fans, and two of us here as Dragons fans. The biggest part of that day is the clash between the Chooks and the Dragons. The Roosters definitely have had the wood over the Dragons in past years. And it's kind of been the same sort of story leading up into the game, that this is going to be an absolute bloodbath going, in the Chooks' direction.
That is the worry.
Last year, not great. They did get 54 points put on them, but they did win the year before, and same sort of headlines leading into it. Tends to be a pretty fiery and pretty close encounter. Probably the big talking point here is Sammy Walker's been dropped.
Yeah, and I think if you want to remember back to our preview, I'm pretty sure I said that I think Joseph at some point this season, Marnie, will play 6. But I thought it'd be at the expense of Kiri.
Yeah.
Because I was saying with his return, his concussion history, and, Walker is the future, I could see them transitioning to that. But, Kiri's been pretty good. He's been healthy as well, and he's a veteran there, and he's been in that squad for a very long time. So, whereas Walker, of course, is that younger guy, a bit undersized. Both of them are small guys, so you have undersized halves. You play Joseph at 6, and then you've got a massive 6 in the like of Jack Whiten. So that adds a bit to your defensive bit. But then from all this came out the Cooper Cronk system that they use there, that Cronk's an assistant for, doesn't fit really well with Walker, and Walker and Cronk don't see eye to eye, they don't like each other, etc. That was the Buzz Rothwell headlines of the Dinosaurs this week from this news. But I feel it's probably more a young fella that needs to think about his game a bit. We've seen how hot he can be and his moments of brilliance. He's still kind of working his way into a professional rugby league kind of body as well. He's still going to add size over the next couple of years, extra muscle mass, and be a long-term 7 for someone. And it's interesting, a couple of weeks ago, he was a smoky to play in the Queensland side to now being dropped. Like it's kind of shows how they go. But I think this is, another, think of Trent Robinson, another elite coach in the NRL. He's sending a clear message to one of his young talent here: go away, work on your football, come back, and we'll be better for it.
Yeah. It's also just a testament to where the Chooks are at in terms of depth.
Yes, yeah.
He's probably starting 7 in 8 to 10 teams easily at the moment.
Yeah, and do you think that, you play for the West Tigers every week. So.
I'd say so, yeah.
Do you think this also is more about getting the other Joseph Sawali more time at centre?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Instead of having to force him out on the wing, like it kind of shuffles with Teddy back playing 1, and you shuffle them all along so that you fit in your big stars. Why?
We're talking before about how stacked South could be in terms of their back line. Yeah. This back line is just about as stacked as it gets. Yeah. Paul Momorowski maybe says, but it's pretty unbelievable the talent that they have across the board.
Yeah, and is Angus Crichton back for this?
Yeah. He's back. Did he play last week, or is he back? I think this week. I think
he was named last week, but I don't feel like he actually played.
I feel like you're right. I think he was on an extended bench for memory last week. I'll give you that information in just 1 second.
So either way,
it's his first game back this week.
Either way for Walker, I think he'll probably play again for the Roosters this year.
Oh, 100%.
It probably doesn't bode well maybe for the Dragons in this one with Big Mane getting all the ball.
He's been so good in the games where he's played 6 as well.
Yeah. So a little bit worried there for Dragons fans. But for Walker, even if the Roosters don't work out, I think there's, like you said, plenty of clubs that could go and look after him. I think if you know his history with Seabold kind of fucking him over up there, the Broncos probably love to have him back as well. And you have some of that conversation about Adam Reynolds kind of getting old and retire.
Pass on batons and whatnot.
Can you, a man and Walker combination, like you see with Walsh, same sort of conversation. He wasn't going to make the team, so they moved him on and then showed his elite talent. And now
what
he's
the fuck
fat.
was going on up there? Just quietly.
I just said his name. Yeah, Seabold. Too many naps in Macca's after booth sessions and getting rid of his young talent. So anyway, maybe they all come home to roost and play well for Brisbane.
To rest.
Yeah,
what to foal?
Start.
I'll shout out to Animo, by the way, for any racing fans out there. I was thinking of shouting a beer, but then I don't know if that's animal cruelty or whatever. So Animo retired this week, going to stud.
Well, did you see? Now that we're on horse racing, the
bloke died today.
Yeah,
the crash was yesterday, I think.
Yeah,
horrible,
dangerous sport.
Yeah.
So another side note: the wife and I were having this conversation about racing drivers and jockeys, and I said I'm pretty sure being a racing driver is more safe than being a jockey.
I think statistically, yes.
Yes, because you do a quick Google of like jockey death, and at this time, this was a couple of weeks ago, there were already been like 3 this year
in Australia.
Wow. I think 2 in Australia, 1 outside of it. And then motorsport, and then you just go motorsport deaths, and there hadn't been 1 this year. There was only been 1 6 or 7 months ago. So I was just like, I guess it is, you come off a horse that's 8 foot off the ground kind of thing. You're at speed and have elevation, and whereas a car, motorsport's kind of been designed in a way to have heaps of protection around you. It's quite interesting. The difference that being a horse rider, a jockey in this case, is more dangerous than being a race car driver.
Dean Holland was the bloke's name, so obviously thinking of his family, it's something that as a fan of racing, you probably don't really appreciate that, just how dangerous it is for the jockeys.
Anything else from you, Dan?
He's got a long list here of including skiing and snowboarding and shit. Just again, did anyone see that bloke skiing and fell into that crevice?
Massive hole, yeah.
Holy Jesus.
Scary shit.
Oh, that is so scary. If you haven't seen it, I don't know, it's doing the rounds at the moment. Just look at skier falls in crevice or something. It's literally, you can't see it. He's just cruising down what looks to be a pretty innocuous ski run, and then just falls into the shadow realm, and he's lucky to be alive. Really.
Yeah, it was like 10 to 15 metre kind of fall, and then you can see the crevasse just keeps going.
Yeah, he was lucky to just sort of grab onto the side of it.
Yeah, get his skis wedged and stuff. So,
anyways,
crazy.
bit of a tangent there.
Yeah. Finish on Dragons. Does Hook survive the week?
I said last week that Anzac Day.
This is his
D-Day,
trial.
I think. And I think if they get embarrassed, it could be. I think if they
lose by 50 points like they did last year, I think
it was 2 years ago. And it wasn't actually that bad. Max brought it up for me. For some reason in my brain, it was quite bad, but it was 34-10 2 years ago.
Even still, I think that kind of score line, and if there's no
it's gonna be
fire kind of thing,
it'll be more how they play, and not so much result.
Yeah, if they fold, I think job done. They'll have to do something.
Let's have a look at our Dragons' upcoming schedule after that, because we've already played a fair few of the lower sides as it is.
If it's not this week, it'll be Tigers in round 10. I think is what we were talking about.
So we've got Canterbury and Tigers upcoming, so the back end's going to be a little bit tricky, I think, for Dragons fans. Cowboys away, Chooks again, Dolphins away. Penrith. He needs to start stringing together a few wins now, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Win here probably saves his job for at least another month.
100% on Anzac Day. Yeah.
And especially going into Cowboys and Tigers. He'll see out the next 3 weeks. But, get pumped here, play poorly. They'll probably look for a change going into those weaker games where they maybe can reset a little bit, maybe find some form against the two bottom teams.
God, I saw some fucking window-licking journalist asking him the stupidest questions. So Anthony, do you think you're going to like literally what we're talking about?
Yeah.
But asking it to his face, like, what the fuck do you think he said?
Are you getting fired?
Yeah, like who comes up with this shit?
Yeah, true.
Do you know what I mean? What's he meant to say?
So when are you heading down a Centrelink?
Yeah, what are you meant to say to that?
Yeah.
I think there's been a rare occasion across sports where the guy's been told and he's known he's been tapped on the shoulder and he's like, yeah, I'm getting sacked in a couple of days, like I'm done. But 90% of the time it's just like, I don't know, I'll leave it up to the board. They'll make the best decision
It's the most
for
vanilla
the club.
coming back.
Yeah.
And then
Even if you know, you're not going to say publicly.
And then that's the soundbite. That's what the quote they put in the paper. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. We can blow out enough shit like that.
Of course, that's right.
For headlines if you want.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's almost like I don't know. Podcasters talking about mainstream media in a disheartening way. It's kind of like what are you meant to say to that?
Yeah, they should be asking more like informative questions that are interesting. It's like you had 14 errors in this game. How do you think you're going to improve on that for next week?
And that was a mud game last week against the Raiders.
Yeah.
That was hard to watch.
Yeah, but that's like an actual answer he can talk
Exactly,
about. It's like that's his
So
job. It's
something
like,
tactical.
all right, I'm going to have to do these things during the week. We're going to coach about this. This is the fundamentals we'll focus on. So we get ready for the Roosters. It's like
It's so dumb.
yeah, but that's it. I guess that's
Anthony,
interesting.
I'd just like to know, do you like stepping on Lego? Like, do you like doing your tax returns? Like, I don't know. Storm Warriors, this has become obviously the second sort of staple on Anzac Day over the past few years. The Warriors, the Wars, they're looking pretty good.
hot.
Pretty good. They
do run into the Storm.
Yeah, they are currently 5-2, and Melbourne's been a little bit lackluster. So I don't think we'll do a full preview of that one, but it'll be.
The only question I have for you is: should the Warriors play in New Zealand on Anzac Day?
Be great for
It would be nice.
Anzac camaraderie, wouldn't it? It's been Amy Park for the last few years for this.
Yeah, well, I think historically for the Warriors, as they play in Australia on Anzac Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it'd be an excellent show of the Anzac,
the spirit,
the NZ bit in that. So for our Kiwi brothers, they get a home game on Anzac Day.
They would sell the shit out of Mount Smart. That could be. You could start thinking about having it somewhere bigger, perhaps.
Who would you play?
Well, let's see. Keep it Storm.
Yeah,
Storm.
Just have it being in
send them over
New
there.
Zealand. Yeah,
But the problem is that misses Melbourne.
and I think I think it's a very deliberate move from the NRL because
So
obviously we're going to talk about
it covers
in a
all the
second.
states, though.
When you've got 100,000 people just down the road at the MCG, the NRL has made this move to say, look, we are also in Victoria and have a presence.
Yeah.
Albeit
So what do they play for the
a
Michael?
quarter of the people there?
Yeah, Michael Moore Trophy. Is that what that said?
But I don't think it's right because it looks like they have two games in this. It's like
So
two
in the
game
series. Okay.
series kind of thing.
They always
I
play
don't know.
twice.
They must have.
Not in 2020, but most.
Well, 2020 was COVID though. So
That's true. Yeah, there you go. They must always play twice. Look, there's a lot of purple in that.
There is.
Lot of purple.
Yeah, no shit.
Storm.
Here's the Storm. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd love it. I see why they do it, and that's why I guess my suggestion would be you'd pick one of the other clubs, send probably a Sydney team to New Zealand.
That's a lot of history to undo.
I know, but then that keeps your Melbourne team there, and yeah.
I think that's less likely.
Well, here's a reason to add another New Zealand team.
Oh,
So
there,
so you can play an Anzac Day special.
If we talk about hip drops all season as number one prerogative, number two might be who's 18.
Who's 18?
Yeah.
And second New Zealand team definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yes, yeah. Especially with the crowds you've seen for Warriors games.
Been good, yeah.
They've been loving it. And plus, there's some inter rivalry in New Zealand. I think it would be great for the game. You get behind your teams, and that's how you start stealing away some of those rugby fans who have. Well, they've just transitioned. They have a lot of New Zealand teams playing each other, and now they've into the phase of their season where they're playing back and forth across the Tasman now. So,
where would you base the second team?
Wellington, I think.
Yes.
Have one in Auckland, one in Wellington. You could try and get a South Island team. Christchurch is your only sort of option viable there. It's population-wise, it's not great. And then you've also got a team there in rugby called the Crusaders.
It'd have to be another North Island team, I'd say.
That would be, What about move the Warriors to Wellington? The Wellington Wars.
Warriors,
rolls off the tongue.
Makes sense.
Well, would they have to drop the New Zealand if there's two New Zealand teams?
I feel like you would have to.
Split it out.
Yeah, we can't have Australia is playing the Canberra Raiders. You know what I mean?
Well, it would be the Australian Raiders playing against the Australian Roosters.
So they just become.
They both get New Zealand.
Yeah.
Or do they just don't have New Zealand in it? It's just like the Dolphins.
No, location.
We're only to go down that fucking rabbit hole again. That's for sure.
Come on. No. Yep.
All right, boys.
Let's keep rolling.
Let's keep rolling.
Jimmy?
Western Bulldogs getting their season sort of semi back on track with a pretty comfortable win over Freo on Friday night at Optus.
A big last quarter for them. The Dockers were coming back into this game, and then they blew them out in the last.
The Bond, how good is he? 31 disposals, 10 tackles, 2 goals. 3 each for Aaron Norton and Bailey Williams. Freo is
struggling.
Yeah, it's not quite panic stations, but it's getting close. They're 2 and 4.
Yeah. We said the same thing about Geelong a couple of weeks ago. I'm not putting
we'll get to them in just a second. Saturday, Port Adelaide winning 40-point winners over West Coast. You see
in
both
Adelaide, so
shock. Indeed. You see both West Coast and Freo 10-9-69. Nice. Jeremy Finlayson, again, I think we mentioned it a few weeks ago, but his wife is battling cancer. So definitely thinking of the Finlayson family. But he booted 5 in this one. So, kind of sort of bittersweet at the moment, I suppose, for Jeremy. And just, usual suspects again for Port in Rosie, Butters, and Wines getting the bulk of it through the middle. Sean, you were at this game.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Brisbane Lions getting a win over GWS here at the Theatre of Dreams, Manuka Oval.
Oh, it was very beautiful. The main one out of this was Charlie kicked 7. And 7-2, so he could have had a couple more. Just spraying him a little wide from some set shots.
7-2's okay.
Yeah, 7-2's not too bad.
I complain about
Zach Bailey's 100th, he got a goal in this too, played pretty well. It was actually a fairly scrappy game for the Lions. I don't think the Lions played as well as they probably would have liked and should have really run away with this. And they just left the GWS in touch to be able to potentially claw it back. But in the end, they got the win by at least 3 goals. And I think for GWS, Toby Green was good, and Jesse Hogan's actually really good. I was really impressed with his work in a losing side. The big man getting lots of contested marks at the top there.
You more happy with where the Lions are at after sort of up and down start of the year?
I reckon they should have probably put 50 on GWS in this one. And like I said, it was a scrappy kind of game where Fags doesn't look happy at the best of times, but I don't think he was happy throughout a lot of this one because they just had so many lull periods. They took the foot off. They get 5 goals ahead and then they'd slow down, let them back into it, and that 5-goal lead would evaporate down to 2. They just really didn't push the pedal here, so I think they should have been better. But I think they're top 4 at the moment.
Yeah, I think that with Carlton losing,
they are 5th.
5th, yeah.
Yep. So they're right where they kind of need to be. They got to keep that going. the main thing, as we keep saying, is they got to beat those big Melbourne teams in Melbourne.
It's the same thing we've
same
said
for
the entire time of this podcast.
I like that they've brought a lot of good talent. They've recruited kind of well, but I'm just not sure if they're over that hump to be a premiership winning club, which has been their issue for the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another interesting point of conversation is what Geelong did to the Sydney Swans down there at GMHBA Stadium Saturday afternoon. Yeah, a few weeks ago we were going, what's going on with the Cats? Grand final rematch, and they absolutely had the Swans number. I think it was the Swans' worst loss in nearly 100 years.
Almost 100 points.
Yeah. Jeremy Cameron, he's doing a little bit. He's on. I think he's on track to kick 100 goals.
Yeah, which is impressive in today's age of football. So.
27 at the moment.
What's that maths was? So 27. He's played 6 games.
6 games.
20.
Quick maths. Yeah, that's nearly 4 a game.
Yeah.
No, that is that's more.
It's all
quick maths. Yeah, quick maths. Quick maths. 4.5 game.
Nearly 5.
That I think I saw some of the headlines out of this and the Blues game. Some questions being asked about Carlton and the Swans. Do the teams have an identity, or do they lack some sort of what's their brand? What is the football that they play?
Both kind of young,
probably trying to establish.
Probably both. Sydney made a grand final last year, so can we just put it down to them being young and inexperienced? No, they're actually pretty fucking good footy team. Obviously, the last 2 outings against the Cats, they haven't played anywhere near their best.
It could just be the matchup on paper, and Geelong
they've got their number.
Yeah, knows them inside and out, and knows where their strengths are. And the Swans just haven't learned from those losses quite yet.
Maybe it's a key defender thing as well, because the big Tomahawk, he birded 5 in this. Both of them birded 5 straight. So I don't know if it's that. I couldn't tell you. Yeah. But the Cats have definitely turned things around after starting the year.
Where are they sitting? They're in the top 8 now, aren't they?
Yeah. So they've won 3 in a row after starting 0-3, and actually that game against Hawthorn, their first half was neck and neck. So it's 10 quarters of footy that they've really strung together.
Yeah. They obviously got off their life support and they kicked them full of adrenaline, and the old fellows are finally standing up.
Their percentage is 137.
Yeah.
pretty wild, losing your first 3 games.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
The Crom continue to be cromulent and get a win down there in Tassie, although it's probably a little bit closer than Adelaide fans would have liked. Hawks always put up a good show in Tassie. Big Texan, he birded 4. Darcy Fogarty there with 3. Did anyone see any highlights of this? No,
not at all. I was more interested in where the Crom's currently sitting.
They're fourth.
They're fourth.
Yeah. So, you're asking about Brisbane, it's them neck and neck, it's just percentage splitting them.
They're a very interesting team. Old with Walker, but young everywhere else.
Yep. St Kilda we'll talk about now, because Adelaide, if it wasn't for the Saints being top of the table, everyone would probably be talking about how overs the Crom are going. Yep. But St Kilda took care of my Blues last night. Just sort of got that early sort of 20-point lead, and then
held it.
Just held it, and then Blues couldn't really capitalise on a fair few inside 50s. We did have a stat actually from our AFL correspondent and fellow.
He didn't die.
He didn't die. Fellow Blues tragic is what I was after.
You might be former after the weekend.
He's going, fins up, baby.
He's throwing the towel in.
Carlton had 86 more possessions than the Saints, but 4 less inside 50. So they're winning heaps of it out of the middle, but not converting that into clearances.
Or they're just dicking around with it too much, just moving the ball around, but not actually getting
maybe a little bit too much off half back.
Yeah.
But that's
forward.
Yeah, generally when you have nearly 100 more posies than the other team, you win pretty comfortably.
Yeah. That is the hope.
Big Harry because his goal kicking has still left a little bit to be desired. If there's any sort of
I've heard he's petitioned the AFL to make him wider because he's struggling at the moment hitting targets. So
that is that's a fossil kind of joke right there.
definitely.
It's like good one, Billy Brownless. Or something. Nah, Billy Brownless is alright. He's alright.
Good one, Dad.
Good one, Sam Newman. There we go. the original Foss, Big Sammy. Fucking, they closed down the golf courses in COVID, and I too was up in arms about that. There were millions of people dying, but golf. And look, I'm a golfer, so fair enough, Sammy. Good on you, Foss.
Those greens might have got you. They might have had COVID.
Do you remember that? the foam in the cup, and they closed all the ball washers, and yeah. That was off the golf course.
Appreciate it, bro.
We need to talk about something a bit more serious, or it sort of ties into what we're talking about with hip drops and the NRL's harsh stance on it. The thing that the AFL seems to be cracking down on is the sling tackle as well as the bumps. Yeah. I've seen a few articles sort of along the lines of, does the bump even have a place in the AFL anymore? Jesse Motlop had a sling tackle in this one. He's the 8th player to be suspended for a sling this season, following the likes of Taylor Adams, Zach Merritt, who now obviously won't be able to win a Brownlow. I don't know if he was on Brownlow pace, but there was some chat about that. Will Day, Gary Rowan, Ryan Burton, Nathan Broad. No one has gotten off at the tribunal either when they go for a sling tackle. So the AFL definitely...
dangerous tackle. So, what do you think, Peppy?
It is a dangerous tackle. That slinging action obviously it exposes the head. Concussion. But
you see it a lot more.
Not just that. Like outside of the whole concussion rhetoric, then we don't need to go down that because we've already sort of done it to death recently. That slinging motion, broken wrist, dislocated shoulder, those kind of things come into play.
And you see it a lot in the AFL where it's more of, you've actually, because the guy's holding the football, you're wrapping up his arms, and in the sling, he's basically unprotected. Like he can't brace for a fall or anything.
Now
like that.
That's the justification. Monks, if you wouldn't mind trying to find this Jesse Motlop one, they are erring on the side of over officiating in the way that I've sort of interpreted some of these.
Yeah, and watching more games this year, you're seeing probably less, not less tackles, but less like any kind of try to force to get to the ground. I think the players have kind of not learnt the lesson, but understand the consequences and are doing it less. So you're seeing a lot more of standing up. They're just wrapping a guy up and holding him in position, and waiting essentially for the umpy to call held.
And the problem with that is if the player's if you're trying to tackle Christian Petrarca and you don't have the mentality of taking him to the ground, he can brush that tackle pretty easily.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure I saw one from, I think, Rayner on the weekend. He one fend, put it on the boot and through the goal. Like
he's strong.
Classic example of a strong dude with a fend. Can break away from those kind of tackles. But I think more so in the AFL, I can see it kind of transitioning more away from the tackling to more of the trying to grab a jersey thing and the scrappy kind of play. Like it looks more scrappy, the visual, and have more ball movement than actually the stoppages, which can maybe speed the game up a little bit, maybe it changes a bit, but does it take? Are we going the way where it's going to take the tackle completely out of the game?
This one, look, Dougal Howard's head hits the ground there.
Yeah.
So for him to cop a week, I think that's probably fair.
Yeah.
You are looking at a much smaller man in Jesse Motlop tackling a much bigger man in Dougal Howard.
He lands on his shoulder and he doesn't maybe have as much contact with the head, but I think the action of you've done a sling tackle, if
it hits his head there.
Yeah.
It's that like
it's shoulder
first. But you say I guess the point being is more like if there's a younger guy, smaller bloke, and you did that to him and he probably had more force in the head, you could have concussed him. So it's just like we've penalised the fact that you've done a sling tackle and less the the fact that the was nothing really came out of this one. So
Kind of like that whiplash sort of action
that
where
actually-
it's like
yeah.
kind of bounces.
you see heaps of it in the AFL, which is interesting. But it's very much that motion. You pick up the football and you wrap the arms up and you.
I think it's the 360-degree nature of the game.
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
true. You're not running into a line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, he comes in, it's
Very hard.
come in from the side for him to make a tackle.
Anyways, we've seen it in both of the big codes that we like to follow in the league and the Aussie rules. It's going to be interesting to see as the season goes out, with both of them sort of setting the standard, is that going to continue as we sort of move closer towards finals footy?
Yeah, well, I think it's probably slightly more interesting talking point at the moment with the NRL kind of going into their equivalent of the All-Stars period with the Origin coming up, the State of Origin, and how that's going to be officiated with this heavy take on it, considering if you look at previous Origins and how physical they've been.
You reckon there's going to be 3 hip drop
Sin bins
in a half of Origin?
I don't know.
If I was a betting man, I would say no.
I'd say no, but you also wouldn't put past the Landers in the NRL to do something like that. Whereas my point being with the AFL, though, they've got another 14, 15 rounds until they even get close to finals football. So it's a foreseeable future. So there maybe is enough adjustment between the officiating and the players actually learning what's good, what you can get away with, that it's less of an issue come finals time, because the same rhetoric is something like that. You miss a week, sling tackle, you miss a grand final kind of thing.
Yeah, what happens if Jesse Motlop's done that in a preliminary final?
Yeah. AFL set the precedent. They've set the standard of what they're gonna do, and they just got to follow through with it. Same with rugby league, and it's the same conversation. It's all about player safety. AFL's got their 2 lawsuits. The NRL probably will get one in the not too distant future, they've gone very heavy on player safety. What football looks like, in a couple of years, probably different to how it looks now. I don't think we'll ever return to the golden era of sports of the 90s where no one gave a fuck about anyone.
And possibly for good reason.
yes, yeah.
The Suns did a demolition job on the Roos. I actually don't have a score there in the notes because I did that last night.
It was 97-54. 14-13 for the Suns, 7-12 for the Roos. So really accuracy sort of shooting themselves in the foot there.
They could have shot themselves in the foot and missed.
Did the Cheezel play, or is he out hurt at the moment?
No, he played, I'm pretty sure.
He did? I thought I was looking to find some stats for him. I couldn't see much.
Oh, because or maybe he got hurt because he only had 11.
There you go.
So given the start that he's had, can we
Yes.
get a Cheezel update, please?
See if you can find a Cheezel update. Besides that, D's and Tigers are currently playing. We're in the third quarter, 46-58. Tigers got out to a strong start, but it looks like the Demons are slowly starting to reel them in.
Valuable lesson for young Roo Harry Sheasel after Suns loss.
Maybe they just took him out of the game.
No.
As in, the Suns played well enough.
Oh,
You know,
right.
so you get my point. Like,
That way
they
Negated, yeah.
negated
yeah.
it. Yes.
Yep. Limited to just 11 possessions for the game.
Yeah, right.
Struggled to continue with his ball winning role.
Well, we're at that. How many games have been played now? 6?
6.
Yeah, we're at that
And
kind
through
of
5, he had the most ever through these first 5.
Yeah. Well, the thing is now we've got tape. They know how North Melbourne plays. They know how he plays and how pivotal he's been to some of their winning games as well. The Suns have done their homework and done a job on him, and it paid off. They got a big win.
Yeah. So he's playing with a thumb injury and still got that cork from last weekend against the Lions.
Had 83% time on ground as well, so that's pretty stock standard sort of number there.
Yeah, not helping the mongrels out this week.
No, but I think everyone in AFL Fantasy has the Cheezel.
Yeah,
I can tell you actually how many.
83%.
No, that's his time on ground.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Full player profile. This is very good listening here.
Oh, you got to get some fantasy football chat.
Ownership 70%.
Okay.
70% owned.
Jeez.
So I think that'll be the most in the AFL Fantasy game.
Wow.
The young Cheezel.
And
Yeah.
D's just kicked another one. We're only a goal behind.
We'll have a good finish in that one, but we will be out of our AFL segment. Let's quickly have a look at tomorrow's big game. It's, two teams. I suppose everyone expected Collingwood to be playing pretty good footy this year, but I don't think anyone really had Essendon sitting second come Anzac Day round. Monks, are you gonna you watching this? You perch up somewhere tomorrow and watch this?
Yep, I'll catch this one. It's obviously going to be a tough match for him to play. As you mentioned before, Merritt's out on suspension. Pies get to go back, so it'll be big in for them.
I've got a real bone to pick with the AFL and releasing these teams. I was trying to look at a team list on Sunday, and they weren't released.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, who the fuck's playing? Because I wanted to see if they've gone no ruck, and they have gone no ruck again. So it's going to be Ash Johnson. So Collingwood, famously the last couple of weeks not having an established ruckman, and it hasn't really cost them just yet. Maybe the big Drape, maybe your mate, might have himself a day.
Hopefully,
I did have a question. When's this game played compared to the Dragons game?
3:20 versus 4 o'clock, I believe.
So when Jim starts crying and one, he can flick over the other one.
Yeah, well, true.
I'm just going to be flicking between the two matches then.
Side by side, get them both going.
I'm just trying to get a few
little
odds. Well, I'm looking at Anzac Day medal. Nick Dacos is paying $3.50 to win the Anzac Day medal. That is obscene.
Well, he's had 40 posies in the last 2 games.
Well, he's not paying much more to win the fucking Brownlow. So pretty impressive stuff there. Parrish and DeGoey at 8s into that man Drape at 15. Scotty Pendlebury at 15. I'd love big Sammy Draper to win it. That'd be a bit of fun.
It's going to be a good game of footy, that one.
And as a Carlton fan, I hope they both lose.
Cricket.
That'll wrap us up for the AFL. Looking forward to a big Anzac Day tomorrow. If you are around, having a beer for the Diggers or attending a dawn ceremony or just having some quiet reflection or spending some time with the family, we hope you have a good day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, for sure. Over to cricket.
Let's do it. Yeah, a few really high-scoring games in the last week. Venkatesh Iyer getting a big ton in Mumbai Indians' defeat of Kolkata. So despite scoring 104, they weren't able to get the bickies in that one.
We are talking IPL, of course.
IPL, of course, yes. Rajasthan getting a win against Gujarat Titans. Big Heady getting some runs in that one. Then this is one of the multiple games this week to feature a stupid score. The Chennai Super Kings scored 226 in their win over Royal Challengers Bangalore. Devon Conway, who's doing pretty good in terms of orange cap kind of stuff, he's 83. And Big Maxi scored a few for RCB, 76 off 36. Just not quite enough to get RCB over the line. But 226 plus 218, close to 450 runs scored in this game.
Crazy.
From one Aussie doing well to another Aussie doing well. The Mumbai Indians, who could be renamed the Mumbai Australians, because there was a game this week where all 4 of their internationals were Aussies. Cam Green scoring 64, not to justify that big paycheck that he got thrown his way.
And backed it up with the bowling as well.
And backed it up with the ball. He had 1 for 29, but it was all Aussie contingent. So Berendorf, 2 for 37. Riley Meredith, 2 for 33 in Mumbai Australians win over Sunrisers Hyderabad.
Was that their second win?
I think they've had 3.
Three.
Yeah.
It's a pretty close table at the moment.
Yeah, it is. We'll get to it in a second. They have had 3. Yep. So definitely within a sniff of final stuff, although we're not really even at the halfway point just yet. Lucknow getting a win against Rajasthan. Trent Bolt, 1 for 16 from 4 overs. Don't mind that at all. And then RCB getting a win against Punjab. Faf du Plessis, of no relation to Dreykus du Plessis.
I was going to say, how do you think he's going to go against Robert Whittaker? Because they've booked that fight.
Yeah, I know they did book it. I think there was an episode where we were looking at most common South African surnames. I think du Plessis up there. So yes, no relation. However, Faf is doing a bit. He currently is way up on that orange.
Almost has a 100 run lead over Conway.
So
shot off within the last week.
Yeah. So through 7 games, 405 runs, averaging 67, striking at 165, if you don't mind, for the Faf man. Coley, a few runs in this one. Mo Siraj, good with the ball. RCB, pretty convincing. All right, boys.
DC win.
DC
win, finally. They get off the donut. And what was it, the lowest scoring of this round?
Pretty much, yeah. A lot of that off a great team bowling effort from the Caps with Ishant Sharma, Anarik Nortje, Akshar Patel and Kuldeep Yadav all getting 2 poles apiece. And Davey Warner, he scored runs again in this one, 57, striking at 139, so slightly lifting that strike rate.
Getting better.
We had spoken last week about how he's scoring a few runs, but maybe seeing a few too many rocks to make it really count. Monks, if you wouldn't mind there. Yeah, so he's third on the Orange Cap leaderboard for most runs.
He does have a game in hand.
285, does have a game in hand too. Averaging 47, striking at 120. Look, it's a touch below most of the others on the list there, but it's also nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, only Rahul is under him there, but the rest of them are all more up around the 140, 150 mark.
What about Maxi? 253, he's 8th at the moment, averaging 42, striking at 189. Thanks for coming, the big show.
I guess number 9 there, Josh Butler, has got a little bit of work to defend his cap.
Not quite where he was last year. He's probably about 3 tons short of where he was last year.
Well, even last podcast, I'm pretty sure it was still number 1, wasn't he? And then...
Yeah, well...
He might have been,
They've moved a fair bit.
He's really dropped off a little bit.
Yeah. And if you remember in last podcast, I was talking about how RCB had those big 3 kind of firing, and they're in, all 3 of them are in the top 10 now. And
1, 4, 8.
Yeah, and it's only really, it's CSK with Conway and... don't even make me attempt his name.
Come on, give it a try. Rudaraj
Gakwad, yes. As being the top 2 in...
Did you say Duck Squad?
No, Gakwad.
Squidward.
Squidward.
Rudaraj.
I can't get high pitch enough to do a SpongeBob Squidward.
Come on, Squidward.
Yeah, come on, Squidward. So Gakwad there's 5th. So, as a comparison, they're where they need to be. So... which is good. Didn't help them in the next match. No, it did. They won. Sorry, Conway got 77. I was just trying to work it out quickly.
Yes. Conway 77, not and Jadu good at cricket, water wet, etc. They get the win against Sunrisers Hyderabad. What about this one? Match 30. It was the Punda show. They are playing for 2 separate teams, but our boy Hard Dick with 66. Get you 66 on route. Hard Dick, something along those lines. I don't know. Joe Root chat. But his brother, Krunal Pandya, 2 for 16 with the ball in that one. So the Pandya boys showing why they are, the best brothers getting around in Indian cricket.
Titans winning there. Mumbai Indians dropped this one, but another high-scoring game, over 400.
Yeah, so 214 Punjab made. Mumbai falling 13 runs short at 201. Cam Green again in the runs, 67. He must be in that sort of next run of...
Scrolly.
Maybe not so much.
So has he not played?
No, he didn't score many in those first few.
Yeah. There you go. 25th.
166, but 3 not outs. So averaging 55, striking at 155.
155 is real good.
Yeah, bloody hell.
Yeah, he'll be on his way up in the not too distant future.
Hopefully.
A game in hand over the others 2. So.
Sam Curran, the most expensive player in the IPL auction, bolstered Punjab with their win there, 55 off 29. RCB did get another win against Rajasthan Royals. We spoke about the big three. Virat did not fire in that one, but when Maxi's going out there hitting 77 of 44 balls, it doesn't matter too much. And then the final game of the week was CSK getting a big win against KKR. Look, KKR, they made 186 chasing. Normally you don't lose by 49 runs when you make 186. But CSK made 4 for 235. So I think they've got 1 and 2 of those big totals so far. And Achinka Rahane is sort of more known for playing playing Test cricket, maybe more so than his white ball capabilities. Turns out he's pretty fucking good at T20 cricket, 71 off 29.
And then Jason Roy for Kolkata Knight Riders. It's a late addition, 61 off 26, is very handy.
Yeah, he's a pretty good cricketer to have as sort of a ring in.
Yeah, definitely.
Imagine, Sunday social kind of shit. Calling, come on, boys, we've only got 8 available. They put a game on Australia Day. They kind of go. And then, Jason Roy comes down. Let's look at the purple cap, and it's the Indians really sort of dominating this one. Mo Siraj 13, Arshdeep Singh, maybe our second favourite name in the IPL, with 13. Uzi Chahal, who's been a staple over the last few years, with 12. Rashid Khan with 12. And Tushar Deshpande with 12 as well. Mark Wood, after that hot start, has missed a couple games, I think.
Yeah,
it looks like. Yeah,
say his average is pretty elite there.
Isn't it? Yeah, 11.8.
Yeah, but he's only played 4 and missed 3.
Helps when you get 5 or 14 in the first outing. Who's the best Aussie there?
Scroll.
Yeah, it's all Nathan Ellis. Nathan Ellis. He's got 7 poles in 5 games.
And Bancroft.
And then Berendorf, yeah.
Sorry. I said Bancroft.
I think he said Bancroft, yeah.
Yeah.
Berendorf's numbers are good. Mm-hmm. Oh, Ashes squad as well.
Yep, got announced.
Yeah, that's a good way to finish, actually, for
do you want to go on the table?
Go table, and then Ashes squad.
Yeah.
So still stuck on the bottom. Delhi Capitals with their first win, but that keeps them slightly in touch with everyone else because the 2 in front of them. Well, they do have a game in hand over the Kolkata Knight Riders, who have only won another game, have won 2. So it's pretty close there. Top of the totals with 5 wins. So there's a big middle pack at the moment, from second all the way through to 7th, really. There, so still very, very close.
Yeah, well, I think the hardest thing for DC is just their net run rate.
It's shocking.
Yeah.
Minus 1.1.
Yeah,
that's real hard to claw back.
So there must be 2 more games to get to halfway of the season.
Yes. Yep. I think they play 14.
14 in total. Yeah,
pretty sure.
And
so
there's 4 teams on 6, so that's what I'm saying. I think 35 match day 35 will be the halfway point. So very close to halfway. Do you have a favourite out of that? I think the Aussie back teams I'm worried about with Mumbai and Delhi.
CSK, if they can go out and score 230 odd runs consistently, they're going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, well, RCB too. They've got the batting power. Can they back it up with the bowling? The Titans are still floating in there.
Again, I think you just sort of got to look at that net run rate.
Rajasthan Royals are the best.
Yeah, so wins aside, if it's a close contest up the top there, you're going to be looking at who's scoring the most runs and yeah.
Ashes.
Yes. So, holy monkey.
Oh, no,
the laptop.
Oh, it's Red Bull. It might start flying. It might perform better.
Yeah.
It crashed a second ago. So
it did crash a second ago.
That's the second time you've done that, haven't it?
It is.
No, I think I did the last one, didn't I?
Oh, did you do the last one?
Yeah, I did the water.
No, I've spilled Red Bull on this one a couple of times.
Yeah, that's probably why it doesn't work really well.
That's not what I want to do.
Oh,
We're all over.
Oh, no, the keys are off.
Ashes. I guess the biggest talking point, of course, was Marcus Harris into squad, Peter Hansgen out.
And Mitch Marsh in.
Yeah, Mitch Marsh in, yes.
Kuhneman missed out. Todd Murphy in.
I kind of made...
We're doing good off the top of our heads.
Yeah. No, Kuhneman it's a little bit of sense because
he only really went over there as the third.
Well, he's
fourth essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So he's going to be behind Nathan Lyon and Todd Murphy anyway, and they're probably only going to play Nathan Lyon.
Yeah, over there that'll be interesting, isn't it? Because you'd imagine the Murph, as good as he's been, it'd be really only
all the steam.
It'd really only be Lyon being unfit. You'd think would see Murph go in.
Yeah,
and stranger things have happened.
Yeah. Well, again, depends on what deck turns up.
There could be one where they go with the two spinners.
Yeah, they think it's going to spin a lot, but I think most of the cases is like who can bowl swing, who's going to be our best seamers. It'll be the quick bowlers that'll get the lot there.
So on that, you've got Pat Cummins, obviously, and then Stark, Hazelwood, Scobo, Scott Boland. Michael Neser missing out, which I thought was a little interesting because he's very accustomed to English conditions. Played a little bit of county cricket, and he gets a bit of swing playing for Queensland up here. So maybe a little bit unlucky for Neser to miss out.
Do you think they're just so locked in because they've got Cameron Green that gives them an option?
That gives you a fifth quick option.
And they're already kind of fighting over will it be Boland, will it be Hazelwood?
I just think when we look at that squad, I would have thought maybe there's a spot for Neser, but we'll go through the squad, and obviously you've only got a limited number of bums that you can put on the seat.
Yes.
So Pat Cummins, skipper, Scott Boland, Alex Carey, Cam Green, Marcus Harris. We have to talk about Marcus Harris, the anointed one from the Australian selectors. Keeps getting the opportunities. He did have a very good Shield season.
Did Bancroft, going back to that, have a better Shield season?
Bring that up, Mugs. We'll have a look at the runs in the Sheffield Shield. So Bancroft, we spoke highly of his Shield cricket, but his return from Sandpaper Gate and being able to go and join the boys in India would have been quite vindicating for him. But then, misses out on this side, and essentially it's Harris and Renshaw probably that's keeping him out of it at the moment.
Yeah, and I don't know. Again, Renshaw probably had a very dismal India tour and didn't have a great.
Shocking.
Yeah, didn't get a lot of great opportunities in the South Africa warm up as well. So I think Peter Handscomb probably hard done by, and whether Bancroft, I think he's over there playing county cricket at the moment. So whether they could have looked his way. Did you get some stats? Or are you still working on it?
No, he scored 945 Shield runs, which was leaps and bounds ahead of second. So what more is he meant to do? And when I say leaps and bounds, like 300 runs than Daniel Drew, who was second.
What was Marcus Harris?
Bring it up, Marcus. Can you bring up should we go view all stats? Yeah, you should be able to see Marcus Harris, who I believe had a reasonable Shield season. Whilst Monks looks that up, we'll go through the rest of the names. Hazelwood was going to be a lock. Josh Inglis going to be the backup gloveman, which is nice to see. Uzi, Marnus, Nathan Lyon. That's strong, isn't it? Through
so.
K&L there. Mitchell Marsh, call back into the Australian Test squad, was essentially had some of the worst numbers ever for a number 6.
I'm not sure
when it comes to red ball cricket, but we've seen what he's been able to do in the white ball formats over the last few years.
Do you think it's purely just Cam Green cover?
I think so. Yeah, I think Cam Green is our locked in number 6.
Yeah, they give a sort of like for like with body type and what they kind of deliver, but
although Marsh hasn't been bowling much recently.
Yes, and hasn't really done much in red ball format for hitting a ball either. So, and his IPL form at the moment is not great to follow on with that. So, he's a bit of head scratcher. So Jimmy's pulled up the Shield stats. So Harris was there, only played 9 matches, did get 600. What was he averaging? 37.
37.5. 2 tons.
What I find interesting, if you scroll up that list to see Peter Handscomb, who had played only 6 matches, got 600 and was averaging 70, doesn't make the squad.
Done by the old foot brush. Also kind of saved our ass in India a few times. Now, yes, horses for courses. They say he's a good player of spin. But you'd think would have done enough to retain at least a spot on the plane.
Yeah. I would have thought so too. Like over the guy he already replaced, which was Renshaw. I would have thought that made more sense. And like we said, Bancroft was heads above everyone else on
It's like 300 runs ahead.
Average
made
60,
4 tons.
and average 60 from 20 innings as well. So
Hard done by there, Bancroft. The rest of the squad, Todd Murphy is going to go over as a second spinner. What a story that's been. Matt Renshaw, we just spoke about it. If he does get an opportunity, which would only really be from injury, you'd think. Hopefully, for his sake, he can take it. Smudge, Starkey, and David Warner. Now, Warner's going to have a heap of pressure.
I had two questions on this squad. First one is, does David Warner retain an opening spot, or do you go with Travis Head? Because I guess the question is, the way Head kind of plays is kind of like what young Warner was. So
aggressive.
There is kind of a little bit of a like for like there. And is, I guess, Head the anointed to take that spot when David Warner does retire in maybe a couple of years? Or is he forced into retirement earlier?
It could be sooner than a few years.
Because if you don't play him as an opener, where did Davey fit in? Does he then play switch spots? Does he then play 5 where Head was? Does that make sense?
I think my feeling is that Warner will retain his opening spot, and for everything that he's done for Australian cricket, probably justified so. But yeah, if you take out that 200 at the MCG, the form in Test cricket is close to horrendous. Yes. And on top of that, his career form in English conditions, not great. Yeah. Stuart Broad.
I was going to say, check his record against Stuart Broad.
Yeah, hasn't really.
I've seen some of the vision
compelling viewing
of Broad playing county cricket at the moment, and that ball is moving all over the place. He knocked Bancroft over for a duck, I think, the other day. So yeah, Stuart Broad in great form, which doesn't bode well for Warner. Well, maybe that's a conversation. Do you protect him a little bit from Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad, with the new ball, and you send out Travis Head instead and bring him in later?
I don't know if that's going to do anything for his
confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, if that's the justification.
I don't know. Do you not pick him?
There's a lot of Aussies that I've seen in the comments who really, for whatever reason, like to hate on David Warner, and it seems to be a bit of a narrative that a lot of people think that his time's done. I don't share that view. Yeah,
I would have said if they'd brought Hanscom, who played 5 in India, I would have retained that, like that the last 2 games. I probably would have retained that kind of top order batting lineup. I would have been happy with that going into England, backing off that form. Maybe give Hanscom a chance to lock down that 5th spot, and Head, who played pretty well in those last 2 scoring good runs as an opener. Maybe can he cement that spot for himself as well, considering how well he's played.
Just
outside of the subcontinent. Well, just in general, he's been elite. And maybe David Warner misses out. But the fact is, the only other batsmen they've taken is probably Max Harris and Renshaw. Then no, I wouldn't put either of those in there. That's fifth spot. So maybe it's a easier, safer option for it to be Davey open and play Head at 5. What do you found anything interesting there, Jimmy?
Yeah, amongst the old house stat, he's got the overall scores for Davey Warner versus England.
Yeah, it's probably not really relevant. It's a while ago since they played in England.
What are the columns there, Jimmy? What have you
need some runs somewhere. Yeah,
matches, innings, how does me? There you go, runs.
There you go. Maybe if you make this full screen, it should open it up a lot more.
That's not full screen. Well, that's not full screen either.
We got some Spitfire. Is that what they are, Spitfires?
Yeah, Spitfire and a Hurricane, I think.
Jimmy loves his planes.
Here we go. The fastest research man when he's on.
Oh, he's trying to work out that Red Bull. Scroll.
There we go.
So that
maybe scroll down
because it's reverse order.
There we go. So the last time that Davey was over there in England, this is his scores: 11, 5, 0, 0, 0. 61, 5, 3, 8, 2. Not good reading, that 2019 Ashes.
Yeah. What do you got there? You got Broad, Robinson, Wood, Broad,
Archer,
Anderson, Stokes.
It's mostly Broad.
Archer, Broad, Archer.
Yeah, it's mostly Stewie Broad.
I guess the one good thing for us is Archer hasn't been playing much IPL at the moment, still dealing with his injuries.
I think he's back.
Yeah, well, let's hope he's not too far back. Because Broad and Anderson's enough thing. I don't want Archer as well.
Their pace stocks over there are pretty nuts. Go back to 2015 Ashes.
Yeah, right there. Anderson, Ali.
So, but much better numbers overall.
Stokes. Yeah, but no Broad.
No, that's true. And still no tons, but respectable. 52, 38, 83, 77. And then 2011 Ashes over there. Was he in that? No. 13. I think I've quick maths fucked myself as usual. 541, 371, 6.
Well, there's Broad 3 12. There in a row. It's Broad.
So never has a ton in England. Would love to see it.
Yeah. So then the other question is, who's the quick do you take? Do you take Hazelwood or Boland? Who's in your starting?
Hazelwood, I think, has to be for me.
I feel Boland in England conditions.
So you're saying Stark's a lock?
Yeah, again, we've had that conversation. Starks offers the difference.
Yep, yeah.
He's just different from, Cummins, Hazelwood are very similar, and Boland's...
You got a left, quick, can scare the fuck out of you with bounces.
Exactly.
In swinging Yorker when he's
Stark's been good in India. You got to... After Paddy went home, and he essentially was the only fast bowler that did any bowling, in his limited work there was pretty good. So I think maybe Boland, who bowls like a heavier ball, like that's just the way he bowls, just seems like he delivers a heavier kind of impacting ball. Maybe that'll have some difference in the swing over there in England. Whether in that conditions you can get a bit more movement. I'd be interested to at least try him and say game one and see what he can, whether he can give you any of that. And if not, you've always got Hazelwood as backup to potentially come in here. Because I think you've seen Hazelwood and what he probably delivers. Boland's a bit of an unknown, and maybe that's something you want to have a look at and see what he can do.
There is a world where all four quicks can play as well.
True.
But time will tell. The other thing is, the tactics that they take in terms of the lineup for the World Test Championship final against India.
True, that's up first.
Yeah, might be slightly different towards the tactics that they take for England. But we got, 6 weeks to think about it. So we've only really got the 17-man squad, and we'll definitely start talking a bit more sort of Ashes and World Test Championship sort of early June.
Yes. Mm-hmm. NBA?
Moving on.
Yes, press the
I'm
button.
going to press this button and then I'm going to go get some stuff to clean this up.
Sticky?
A little bit.
Curry sets, fires, puts it up. Bang!
The NBA playoffs are off and running over the last week, and there's been some great storylines. Let's start off in the East with the Bucks actually trailing the Heat 2-1, and all of that's really been dependent on the Greek Freak. We've got the New Jersey up there. Shout out to, I can't remember the name of this joint, but there's a Jersey joint down at Merimbula, South Coast, New South Wales. Go check it out if you're in that vicinity. But the Bucks lose Giannis in game 1 with back spasms following a heavy fall onto his back. Yeah. And Jimmy Buckets...
doing Jimmy Buckets things.
Himmy Buckets, if you will, had 35 in this one. But then no Giannis, no Warriors in game 2. The Bucks win. There was, I think, 20-odd between...
So I'm assuming that was home for Bucks, away, home?
Nah, home.
Home. Okay.
2-2-1-1-1 if required.
Cool. I was just double checking. I was just interested to see if they couldn't. No one could win at home in this, but I tuned in to see some of that second game to see if they, without Giannis, because he was not going to play in that, whether the Bucks as a team are very much built around him. What they were going to do, and I just wonder if maybe they got into the Heat's head a little bit. And
they won comfortably in that. Brook Lopez had 25, Drew Holiday had 24, Pat Connaughton 22, and our man Jingling Joe with 17. Real team effort.
Yeah, maybe it's just a bit of uncertainty. But then I guess the news that he definitely wasn't going to play in Game 3.
Going back to South Florida.
Yeah, the Heat came out and got a big win. And buckets again, 30.
And we talk about how reliant the Bucks are on Giannis, but the Heat are exactly the same with Jimmy.
Yeah, well, we saw that he didn't play most of the first half of the year.
And
so
they were outside of the top 8 for most of the first half.
Well, that's why where did they finish? They finished in 8th?
8th, yep.
Yeah. So, but then, of course, they played in the finals last year. So they definitely have a very talented squad. And without Giannis, if he misses more games, I think they'll get past him.
Well, yeah.
And the Bucks get bounced, which would be a crazy story.
That would be wild to even consider.
How many multis or parlays will get fucked?
Parlay. It's the Caribbean chat. Cavs, Knicks. Knicks close to home and hose here, 3-1.
Knicks fans are already celebrating like they've won the series.
Yeah. Cavs were pretty unlucky to lose that first game. They had a big effort from Donovan Mitchell, but the Knicks get the win there. The only win in the series so far was Cavs at home with Darius Garland playing pretty well. But Julius Randle's been doing a bit. Might bring up some numbers for this series and when Game 5 is, because the Knickerbockers are one win away from going through.
To the top.
Game 5 is Thursday morning our time, 9 a.m. That'll be a Wednesday night game over there. Mm-hmm. So actually it's a couple of days break for them in that one.
Well, they might have played those because they've played 4 already. So they might have played the 3 and 4 very closely together.
Jalen Brunson's been doing a bit. RJ Barrett. They're one of those teams, like obviously Randall's their figure piece, but again, a pretty well-rounded team. Look, I think in the East, it's all the chat all year has been Bucks and Celtics. Bucks may not be in that conversation.
Yeah, they get bounced by the Heat. I guess Heat takes that spot.
And we're going to talk about the 76ers, who didn't really drop a beat with the series sweep against the Nets, although there were a few fiery nut shots.
Yes.
Now, you thought Harden's ejection in that Game 3, was it Game 2, was justified?
Yeah, there's one angle that shows it from the referee, and you watching plenty of UFC, you can see how he he actually like tucks the arm and the elbow goes out. Like there's a pointed elbow. For those on the view, you can see
gets his elbow.
Yeah, it gets by a point. Well, you can see his actual pointed elbow there, and that's what cops the nuts. So I can see why he got tossed for that. Like maybe it wasn't intentional. Maybe he was trying to run through, and as he's running through, he's in that cocked motion with the elbow out.
Cocked motion.
But his fists closed as well, so it actually looks like what you constitute trying to elbow someone. That's what it looks like. So from the visual from the referee, I can see why he tossed him.
For mine, I thought it was more incidental, and I would have been happy with flagrant 1. But the weird thing was where Joel Embiid
actually
kicked up, and there was intent there. Yeah. That went as a flagrant 1 and didn't get
Didn't someone else kick someone else in the nuts before that game, and then they got a game suspension as well?
Possibly.
Yeah, I think there's been plenty of nut shots, and there was also the LeBron nut shot today from Brooks too. So all the nut shots in the NBA.
Dylan Brooks, he's becoming one of those NBA bad boys as well, isn't he? Yeah, villain, big time. We'll get to them in a second. Celtics pretty much home and hosed against the Hawks. They have dropped 1. Is there Game 5 tomorrow, or is it Thursday? Their game, I know it's Wednesday, so Tuesday night. I was having a look because I was thinking, Anzac Day viewing, a little bit of morning basketball into the footy might be nice. That Bucks Heat game is tomorrow morning our time.
That'll be tasty.
And then into the Grizz and the Lakers, which brings us into the West. And let's start with the Grizz and the Lakers. Lakers up 2-1 in this one. The first game, obviously the Grizz had a game plan for shutting down AD and LeBron.
Yep.
So Rui Hachimura and Hillbilly Kobe Austin Reeves come out and put up 52 points between the two of them. Ja missed Game 2.
And Grizz win.
Grizz won without him. So quite similar to the Bucks winning without Giannis. There was a bit of carry on from Ja in this one. It turned out it was just a bruised hand essentially. But when he left the game, there was a lot of concerns that he had broken his hand. Obviously, it didn't affect him in game 3. He came out and put up 45, nearly with a triple-double, but they lost. So the jar influence on this team is a little, a little unusual. Sometimes basketball is interesting when your superstar does sit for one and the team's able to win without them. Maybe they're trying to run a bit too much offense through him.
I think
sure.
100% that's what it is. He just sucks so much ball and everything's kind of through him that he maybe bottlenecks it a little bit, which doesn't give them enough looks elsewhere to potentially keep pace with a team like the Lakers, who though have had their struggles all year, are still got talent over the place.
Big time.
Still got a guy called LeBron playing for them. So
who knows how to win at this time of the year?
Playoff basketball. Yep. So definitely. They play tomorrow, don't they?
They're tomorrow as well. That's fun tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Nugs and T-Wolves. Nugs up 3-1 in this. You're sort of a semi-Denver fan when it comes to the NBA?
I did see, because the Wolves do like to go big, that they've kind of taken out that kind of game plan to try to take Joker out a little bit more, so put a bit more pressure on him, knock him over a bit more. And I actually seen that from a lot of the NBA games, a little bit more of the aggression, a little bit more pressure on the stars. But then you kind of think about it, I was like, I guess it's playoff basketball that now playing defense. So
that's what it is, isn't it?
So he was like, now they're playing some hard, quality, hard fighting games in the paint. So you see more of that for the Joker, and it was some interesting in that. But I still think the Nuggets will be too good for the Timberwolves. They won't be caught out yet. I think maybe one of those Lakers or Golden State Warriors teams might have something to say in the next round.
It's interesting you mentioned about teams playing defense for once. The T-Wolves in game 1 put up 80 and the Nets put up 84 in their game 2 against the 76ers. I think both of those were season lows or close to season lows for them.
Yeah. Well, yes. What's left? Suns, Clippers?
This is going to be classic case of day-by-day injury updates, but Monks, if you wouldn't mind, you've got it there. Kawhi, is it going to happen at all?
Doesn't look like he is going to be back anytime soon.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Paul George? Probably the same?
I think that's less likely, isn't it?
Yeah, let me bring up Paul George as well.
Well, either way, it's the Westbrook show at the moment, and
he's pretty good.
He's been pretty good, but unfortunately, they're going up against the Suns. Who Booker's been playing really well for them, putting up heaps of points. I think the Suns will get through the Clippers here, and we'll move on. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty tasty there in the West, because then we go into Kings and Golden State Warriors. Who
how fun? Yeah,
Kings were up 2-0, and then the Warriors have brought it back. Draymond Green's been playing some good defensive basketball, shock, and then Curry and Thompson can get them buckets.
You see that game 3, the atmosphere there in the Chase Center. Holy dooly. There was some atmosphere in there, that's for sure. And the Kings boys maybe not really used to that.
Not playoff.
Given a lot of them.
Are they the youngest team in the playoffs?
Oh, we looked this up. We looked at up for the whole NBA.
Yeah, and we looked at OKC. But looking at those lists...
No, I've got a feeling that there is a younger team.
Well, I think Suns, Nuggets, Wolves, Clippers, Golden State Lakers would all be older. Grizz probably be older. What about the East? Can you scroll up for me for a sec, Jimmy? I'm just trying to remember teams.
You're going...
I'm just I'm going off field.
The East teams are old. The Bucks are the oldest team in the league.
Field Bucks, Heat, Cavs, Knicks... Sixers, maybe Nets and
Monks has got it.
Nets and Kings.
The Grizzlies are the youngest team in the playoffs.
Followed by
Knicks, followed by Hawks, followed by T-Wolves, followed by Kings. They're young, but not the youngest. Not youngest. No.
Yep.
Okay.
Who's old?
You've got it is the first time they've played.
So
any playoff basketball.
Bucks, Heat, Suns, Clippers.
Yeah.
Nets, Celtics, Lakers. That's so interesting that the Lakers...
They're top heavy, though.
Yeah, well, it's just LeBron. and then what, AD?
He skews it.
AD's kind of in the middle.
And everyone else is young.
Well, Suns, of course, haven't played playoff basketball in a long time, so They assume we're going back to Sacramento for the next one.
Yep. Let's go. Shine that beam.
Hopefully get some home court advantage.
Not light, shine.
Shine the beam.
Shine.
Cast the beam?
No, well, it's definitely light, but
cast is a shadow, so
yeah, I suppose cast sounds more wrong than shine.
yeah.
You lost me.
Sorry, we're talking about light particles. We can talk about lasers. Some lasers.
Some sharks with freaking lasers. Freaking heads. Anyways, playoff basketball. The only team to be through to the next round at the moment is Philly with the sweep of the Nets. Monks, have you got some playoff leaders for us?
The interesting one there, Booker points, as I mentioned before, has been really good. He's got 139 leading there. Points per game average at 34.8.
I don't know if this includes today's games, as in, no.
Looney is...
All I'm interested is, Kevin Looney there
Yeah.
with 50 boards in 4 games. I'll take him for the overs next game. Yeah. Watch him go out and get 4.
Shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I got no idea where we are now.
There we go. Defense.
What do you got?
Yeah.
Assists. This is the other main stat. And Young, of course, leading
Trey.
assists. Yeah.
Trey with 38.
Oh, Booker
Book
with
with
no
11
steals.
steals too.
Defense.
Oh,
blocks.
How's that? AD, 15 blocks. Nice.
Yeah.
Anyways, probably more interesting for us looking at these stats than listening.
Save that later for some late night research.
Yeah.
What's the old meme? I bet he's thinking of other women. What's he doing? Looking at NBA stats and
AD got 15 blocks.
making his multi for the next morning. That'll do us for the NBA. It's a fun time of the year for anyone that's down under and follows basketball.
Yep. Some NFL.
Yes, some NFL.
Oh, he broke his ankles.
One of the biggest days in the NFL calendar is just a few days away. Shauno, you love this time of the year. It's actually, it breaks my heart a little that we're not watching it live this year. Unfortunately, someone had to go and get themselves a full-time job and can't just have Fridays off here and there, although I definitely did think about it. Anyways, let's do a bit of a draft preview now.
Yeah, it has been a bit of quiet 2 months for me, not having to do as much research and as much tape watching. Jimmy, do you want to, search for an NFL mock draft and whack that up on the TV just for conversation piece? The main guest talking point, as always, quarterbacks. It is pretty heavy for quarterbacks. I think there's probably 5 that'll go in the first round.
Probably 5 early in the first round.
Early as well. So it's kind of cemented that Bryce Young's going to go for number 1.
To Carolina.
I don't think there's going to be any shocks or changes there. The news during the week, and again, work overtime, Jimmy, they released the results of a cognitive test they gave to the quarterbacks. Young, Levi, and Hooker all scored in the 90%. Richardson scored, I think, 78%. CJ Stroud scored 18%. So whether some of that was released, because it's smoke and mirror season, was released on purpose. So potentially he would slide out of 2 at Houston, because that has been the talk. Houston will take him at quarterback. Will Levis is probably the consensus second one to be taken.
Which a few months ago there was no chance that anyone thought that was going to happen. It's always been Bryce Young 1, CJ Stroud 2.
2, yeah. So that would be a huge change. And maybe that's the reason. Maybe someone like the Colts, maybe they covered him, or maybe they think the Colts at 4 will then take maybe Richardson. So then you scroll down, maybe it's, I don't know, the Raiders at 7.
The Raiders.
Maybe they would take a quarterback in Shroud. And then if you keep scrolling in that list for me, you kind of, Minnesota, there's conversation about whether they take sit someone behind Kirk Cousins. Tennessee, there's rumors that Tannehill is on the block, but they have Willis there already, so maybe they okay. But those are kind of the spots. So I think for Will, he'll either go 2 to Houston or 4 to the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Will Anderson is the best defensive player in the league. I think it's probably guaranteed to go 3 at the Cards. I think he
first team, well, really the only team in that top 4 that doesn't need a quarterback.
Yeah, so that's kind of looking that way. Jalen Carter he may slide. There's some talk about that.
He's a defensive tackle from Georgia.
Yeah, he's was consensus number 1 defensive, but has had some off-field question marks. So whether he slides down as far as the Browns that they've got listed in this mock. There's chat about the Lions for him, Seahawks as well in that list, so they could fit in there as well. I think he was involved in the death of his teammate. So if I remember in that story correctly.
Yeah. So I've got it here. Was arrested March 1, stemmed from an investigation into a fatal January car crash.
Willock, Devon Willock died
horrible.
In that car crash.
Yeah.
Potentially street racing, etc. And then of course a lot of question marks have been raised in regards to that. So of course, it scared a few teams, especially in the top 5 of the draft. But he's most likely still got top 10. So if CeeDee Stroud is sliding, then you get into the conversations about. You've actually found it for me.
It's not in any order. It's not the best one.
Yeah. Okay. 99%
S2.
S2 score. So Anthony Richards. Yeah, it's about what I said. 79 there.
Yeah, you're pretty close. Yeah. Who's Tanner McKee?
There's heaps of quarterbacks coming out.
99th percentile. Pretty good between the ears.
Yeah. I think Bryce Young scored the most, but then you have CJ Stroud there as 18th percentile. So that of course was the big concern on the stats, which is interesting because historically I think they've done the Wonderlic, and they've kind of maybe moved away from that to more of this cognitive testing. Because I think Lamar classically scored 8 on a Wonderlic, and I think you get 12 if you put your name on the paper. So he essentially turned in a blank paper and didn't do it. But he had the same problem. He had the same question marks that maybe he wasn't smart enough to be a quarterback in the NFL. But that's, I guess, the comparison I make here with CJ Stroud is, does that not matter? And he's just that good of a football player. And some of the interviews that Stroud has done has kind of showed that he's, he plays in that off the cuff, aggressive kind of play style that, maybe doesn't lend itself well to timing kind of routes, X and O's and things like that. That's not his style. And then maybe it takes someone to mould an offense around like they did Lamar to get the best out of him. So it's not a realm of possibility that he's still a great football player. He just is not going to get a PhD in neuroscience or something like that. So
I don't think many of them do. Although there is that one guy that is a neurosurgeon playing in the NFL. I forget. Yeah.
I think Fitzpatrick was up there for smarts at quarterback position. But
Harvard.
Yep.
Yeah. So
on that, so Tanner McKee is economics major, plays quarterback at Stanford.
Yeah. So it depends on where he slides and how fast he slides, and then they get conversation about Anthony Richardson. Scored better in this athletically is the best quarterback in this class,
or possibly ever.
Yeah, and I think very comparable to Lamar, though he's bigger. But I think Lamar was a better natural passer of the ball. But same question: do you take that risk? Do you take that risk in the top 10, the teens, or just one of those teams that a playoff team in the bottom 20s and 30s have a spot and a backup, and like, oh, that'd be a nice kind of pickup, especially if we've got a veteran aging quarterback. Yeah.
This mock draft that we've got on NFL.com has Anthony Richardson at 10. My thoughts, given the way that he...
Is that a trade too? So they predicted a trade?
Yeah.
Predicted a trade from the Eagles there.
That's right. And that's a great comparison there. I think a good comparison for Richardson is Jalen Hurts. Then Richardson's faster, but Hurts has got that strength and size. Again, maybe Hurts' arm, his talents
is a little bit better. Yeah, he's basically a big middle linebacker playing quarterback.
Yes, I reckon a team might take a punt on him in the top 5. I could really see it happening.
Yeah, as long as it's not a shit one. Well, the Falcons are there as well. You know, have historically had Michael Vick in that team. The only quarterback they currently got, I think, is the Riddler, Desmond. So they might have a spot. In this mock draft, they have them taking running back in Robinson. So Robinson's probably the only back.
Consensus number one by a long way.
I think the only back that'll go in the first round. There's rumours the Eagles are heavily after him. Also rumours the Eagles might trade for Derrick Henry. So that might be another big Titans trade on draft day. So that potentially could happen. And it might be this case, like if Falcons take him at 8, they can't get Robertson, they then turn around and flick 10 to the Titans for Derrick Henry. So that's the rumours for Eagles, which Eagles fans would love. Get some extra heat at the back there for Jalen. And then, you know, there's a bunch of good corners. It'd be interesting to see if Joe Porter Jr. actually makes it to 17, goes back to Pittsburgh, follow in the footsteps of his father. I think
who are the brothers that you're talking about as well?
The Brown brothers, Sidney Brown and Chase Brown, both. It's surprising how similar athletically their numbers were, but I guess if they're they're identical twins, have the exact same body type. One plays safety, one plays running back. They'll probably go in rounds 2 and 3.
That's fun.
Yeah, but that is fun. There is chat about Hooker, the other quarterback,
Hendon Hooker,
sneaking in there. It's interesting if you look at Levis. So I said that right, Will. Yeah, as a body type. I probably like filled out. He's got a pro body already. Hooker, Young, Shroud all look like they can grow and add size. Young is basically the same size as Murray with less weight on him. Kyler Murray, that is. And Anthony Richardson probably can, add a little bit of size, but he's already fucking huge. So, but you look at Will's frame as a comparison, like as his muscular build is what I'm getting at. The others look like they're, young professionals, whereas Will looks like he's been in the weight room and like ready to go. So
6'4", 230.
Yeah, I just wonder if is there room for the growth a bit. But my point, wrapping all the way around, is Hooker has that potential to grow. He's measured pretty well, had a pretty decent season for the Texans, Tennessee. Sorry, not Texans. I had T in my head. Tennessee. So yeah, whether he's your late round pick or whether he sneaks up a little bit for those quarterback needy teams. But they're the 5. So they're the 5 quarterbacks that'll go. 1 running back. There's a bunch of receivers that probably go. Flowers. Is it Hickson Smith? Smith?
I'm just chasing up here. It's not a really receiver-heavy draft, is it? Jordan Addison?
Jordan Addison.
Jackson Smith. Njigba.
So there's also some theories about if Houston takes Shroud, because they both played at Ohio State, they could then come back and get him as well and double up and keep that chemistry going. But there's a lot of good quarterbacks. There's a lot of cornerbacks, a lot of edge guys, and probably 2 really good offensive tackles and maybe 1 center, 1 guard that kind of fit into the 32 that will go in the first round. But yeah, there'll be a heavy amount of defensive players.
And all the big talking points is quarterbacks and how many of them will go, given that we're looking at 5 in the first round.
Yeah, quarterback-driven league, we know that. And then on the flip side, that's why everyone then drafts elite defensive talent in the first round. Because if you've got your quarterback, you then need to defend and prevent everyone else's quarterbacks.
Edge rushers.
Yeah. So, as a quick summary and a kind of preview into the first round of the NFL draft, which starts Thursday, Friday for us, runs for 4 days now.
Yeah, something like
Saturday,
that.
Sunday, maybe not into Monday for us. So I think they do
3 nights, I think.
Yes.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, they do 2 and 3 on Saturday, and then they do the rest on our time, that is. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. Sad face for me. The Broncos don't have a pick till 3rd round.
Trade it off for Wilson.
Yeah. I have to sit pretty and wait.
Well, what do you think the Broncos need out of this draft?
Probably running back, more offensive talent, maybe defensive line. That's probably about it. Yeah, with Williams hurt, they haven't signed anyone besides. It's a Perrin from the Bengals to come across to play running back. Perrin. Yeah, they need maybe another running back in there. So third round's probably a great spot to pick one of the running backs because you're probably getting still a top 5 running back in this draft by that point. And then offensive line talent is very full in the middle. There's heaps of wide receivers outside of the first round as well. So for you Packers fans that won't pick a wide receiver in the first round.
Well, Rodgers isn't there. Maybe
it doesn't matter anymore.
Well, I guess that's the other caveat. That's still not official. So
no.
And there's kind of
it's looking less likely that he's going to leave.
Yeah. Well, there's I guess a semi-deadline is the draft. Because if they don't move those first picks this year, then the Jets, won't have the ammo. They've kind of said that they would be in to do it. So, that's an article from
today. That's from today. Yeah. And then, it's just saying that there's been weeks of speculation. Nothing's happened. The draft is the deadline, essentially.
Resume some negotiations this week. So I think when do the Jets pick? So you've got basically till when
until then,
they pick. Yeah, that's when they'll can flip that. But it's interesting because the Packers pick before them, I believe.
Yeah, 15, I think, is the Packers.
Yeah, so if the Packers pick with the intention that he's not going to be there, but maybe they, they like their strategy. Do they have Roger? Oh, they probably have the deal in the works.
They'd know.
You should hopefully know
just,
about.
I think it's more about not showing your hands to the other team.
Exactly. So they've probably got the deal in place in the works. And when the Jets get close to being, actually, no, it's 13.
The Jets are 13.
Yeah, so as they kind of round into that pick happening, that's when we'll hopefully hear Rodgers trade. If not, storylines. So that'll be some of the interesting storylines. And then, we don't know what else, other trades and other things will happen in the background. I mentioned there's a Tannehill trade maybe happening. And what other surprises? Is there going to be another AJ Brown type trade?
That was big last year. It was fun last year, wasn't it?
Should take a day off.
Should have. Put in my leave form for next year.
That's the NFL.
That'll do us for the NFL. Good luck to your teams. Hopefully you're happy with who they draft. We'll definitely be doing a full breakdown of the NFL draft in our next ep.
Yeah, all the big storylines. Before we go into soccer, just to cover off, the D's came back and won that game. I think from where we saw the Tigers in the middle of that third quarter, they scored 10 points.
Yeah.
So, a bit of a quiet second half for them, and D's rolled through them. I think they scored 60 points in the second half.
Geez, you do a good job of following that. I swear when it's just background for me when we're doing this podcast.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm good at multitasking and remembering whole heaps of random stuff, but only like segments of it. So then I have to ask you, like, this thing happened with this guy and this thing.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know.
Who was it?
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, man.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Hit us up with some soccer. Jimmy, you didn't hit it hard enough. Come on. You dainty little accountant fingers.
What was that?
IT public service calls out accountants.
Yeah, throwing shade on the end of the day.
Oh, that's funny. Arsenal have got some
fumbled the bag.
Yeah, they've got some work to do. It's going to require a win at the Etihad. I know we've looked up the date. Can you look up when that game is?
Yep.
You bring a table.
It's in the. I think it's this week that Arsenal City game, but they had a 3-3 draw with Southampton. As it currently stands, that game may decide the lead.
Premier League, yeah.
Fulham get a win against Leeds. Leeds looking like relegation could be a real reality for them.
Mm-hmm.
Brentford and Villa having draws. Palace and Everton having draws. So Everton as well still staring down the barrel of dropping down.
That Leicester win's huge.
That was a big win for Leicester, 2-1 over Wolves. And then Liverpool getting a win against not Forest. Some big news overnight with Newcastle putting 6 in the back of the net against Spurs. That essentially, I think the Champions League teams are now sorted.
So what do we got there, Jimmy? City are on 70 points. What was Arsenal on? Scroll up, please. 75.
Mm-hmm.
So
but 2 games in hand.
2 game hands, yeah. So it's a lot closer to that.
And they are playing this week.
Yeah, Newcastle still having a slight lead over Manchester United, who will play the FA Cup final against Manchester City.
Yeah, so Manchester Derby, red v blue for the FA Cup. Grimsby made it to the quarterfinals. We've got to talk about Grimsby. The boys haven't seen it. There's a movie sort of based on football hooligans that follow the Grimsby football team. They're not really hooligans. It's just Sacha Baron Cohen and then just
typical English culture.
Just idiocy in this movie. But I found it quite funny. Some people thought it was a little bit more Crimsby than Grimsby. Or Cringesby, if you will.
They just want to think they're more upper class than they actually are. So.
Yeah, can't have a laugh about Elephant Bukkake, then what can you laugh at?
Exactly.
But yeah, interesting that small town, they did get pumped in the quarterfinals, albeit, but they did make it to the quarters. And then it was, who was it? Brighton and Sheffield making the semis. So pretty big efforts from both of them. Monkeys got the Grimsby movie search there, 2016. Look, probably not some of Sacha Baron Cohen's best works, but I still thought it was a little bit funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nobby, that's his name. Nobby Butcher. Oh, they have called him a football hooligan.
Brighton got City and United got Chelsea coming up. The middle of the table hasn't really moved too much. Liverpool floating around there in 7th. They could potentially sneak in the 5th there, but it's probably...
What's that Europa spot now? I think that these mid-table teams have to play for, I think, the Champions League's
1 and 2 are in their
dusted.
battle, 3 and 4 are in their battle, and then it's who would finish in 5th. And then, of course, down the bottom there, Leicester City getting
big win. That's a big win.
Bumps them out, pushes Everton, I guess, down.
Not Forest. And Southampton as well with that sneaky point against Arsenal.
Yep. So, they're stuck in there. Hammers move clear a little bit. Wolves clear a little bit. They're probably safe-ish now.
I think, it's Leeds, Leicester, Everton, not Forest, Southampton. It's 5 teams now that are looking at it. I think Bournemouth are probably safe.
Yeah, Southampton's probably stuck in that spot. They'll probably finish last on that points. And it's just who will join them from those 4 we just mentioned.
Champions League, so semi-finals have been announced. This is a weird one. I always thought it was they announced it a few days after or a week or so after the games, but the games got played and then straight away we had matchups. FIFA, in there, UEFA in there with the classic rigging of Milan derby.
What will sell well? Oh, that sounds good. Let's
Medella
do that.
Madonna, I think they call it.
Yes.
There's all these things, you've got El Clasico or, North London derby. It's very Italian. Just what are we going to do? Just after Maria. After the Virgin Mary, the Madonna. Lad, I assume it's named after her and not Madonna of Girls Want to Have Fun fame. But that will be big. There was actually 3 Italian teams in the quarters with Napoli missing out. They will win Serie A this year. And then the other side of it is City and Real.
Yeah, very fun.
Yeah, very, very fun. City of stacked on paper but have never won the Champions League fame, and Real seems to just win them at will. So it's going to be interesting to see. And then these Milan teams, I was going through a few of the team lists. A lot of ex-EPL guys kicking around in their teams. So it's going to be interesting to see. Have we got dates for those semi-finals?
He had them a second ago.
They are May 10 May 16
Yeah, 3
May.
weeks away.
Finals in Istanbul. Interesting. I hate to say it. I think Man City might be the shortest price favourites in this. Obviously,
do you feel like
I've never done it before?
Do you feel like the winner of Madrid and City will win it?
Not necessarily. I don't think these Milan teams are slouches. we've followed that much sport. I can't say hand on heart I've sat down and watched heaps of Serie A football this year. But I really just go off name value in those teams.
The two big ones. Yeah. I feel like, whoever wins that will go through and potentially win it. But as you mentioned, maybe Man City has like a Champions League upset against Real Madrid and then bottles the final against one of the Milan teams and they end up winning it.
These are some of the players at Inter. So Edin Dzeko, Lisandro Martinez, who we saw be really good at the World Cup. Mkhitaryan, who used to be at United. Damian, who used to be at United. Denzel Dumfries, Brozovic. Like, there's some pretty good names there at Inter.
Do you think it's a product of the fact that there was no Italian team at the World Cup this year, that the Italian guys have kind of gone through a little bit quiet?
Maybe. That's something I didn't really consider. That let's have a look at that Inter team. How many of them are actually Italians?
Yeah, true.
Because a lot of those guys that I was just mentioned aren't.
Yeah.
Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're 5. So half their starters are Italians. Let's look at AC Milan.
Assume a couple of those 5 would have been in the Italian squad.
Yeah, probably all. Yeah. Giroud is up there still doing things for AC. They're not as stacked, I don't think, on paper. They've got that Theo Hernandez, who is pretty good for France. Not heaps of names. Brahim Diaz, I think he goes
Italians?
Right. Number of Italians. You're going to make me do this off the top of my head. 1, 2, 3. I think it's 3. Yeah. Okay. So not heaps. Not heaps. Simon Kjær, the Danish centre back for them. But yeah, look, definitely on name value. If you had to pick a winner, you'd go out of the Real City matchups. What's our?
Is Zidane still playing? Not Zidane.
No, he's not still playing.
No, who starts with Z? Fucking Swedish dude.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. And
still playing for AC Milan?
Yeah, he comes off the bench.
Okay.
I was like, oh no, where's this going? But we got there.
Yeah.
He comes off the bench. There's Zlatan, I'm pretty sure. Can you see how old he is as well?
He's getting up there. I know
he's 40.
I know he only re-signed to replay with AC Milan. Like, he wasn't going to play again unless it was for them, because he's been with them for a very long time.
Yeah.
So to finish on a winning a Champions League would be pretty happy.
He's 41.
He's been there since 2020.
Unbelievable.
Well, 2020.
Well, he's his second stint. Yeah.
He's on
Fuck,
loan.
there's a few good clubs there. Malmo, Ajax, Juventus, Inter, Barca, AC, PSG, United, Galaxy, and then AC Milan for the 41-year-old Swede.
So has he scored 34 goals for AC Milan? Am I reading that right?
34 in this most recent stint.
His last,
yeah.
say 4 years, 2020, 21.
It's pretty impressive. That's all from the age of 38, 39. And just, heaps of funny Zlatan quotes in his Wikipedia page there.
yes. Let's see if he wins the Champions League. I'll back that. Let's go AC Milan.
That'll bring us to the On The Esky final round.
He just brought the odds up there. It's $1.67.
In 1 second.
$1.67 for Man City.
That's too short. That's
way too short.
That's unbackable. There's 4 teams there. They've never won it. They're going to be trying to win the league.
Madrid at $4.50 is good value.
Yeah, a bit of juice
Real,
there.
so.
But $8 you can get for either of the Milan teams.
Yeah.
$1.67. Fuck it.
It's probably sports bets got some relation with the bloody Pommies, so that's why they've G'd them up here.
Maybe betting on English teams is like betting on Australia. The old price dump that you get from Sportsbet.
Maybe.
True. Yeah. I feel like that's just putting into the world a huge choke for Man City coming up. I just feel like that's the way.
There's the curse. The curse. I thought I was going to get through the final round, but I desperately need to do a wee-wee.
You can't last 5 minutes?
Nah, I think I need to pee. That's probably not going to help. All right, stuff it.
We'll run through a quick.
It's a pretty quick one.
Yeah, it's a quick one tonight.
Let's start with some
hit me a ding-ding.
There we go. Sean, you catch a few biffs yesterday?
Yes, there are only really 2 big fights to talk about out of the UFC card yesterday. is it Pavlovich?
Yep.
Pavlovich knocked out Curtis Blades. He's been a knockout artist in the heavyweight division. Some chat about now, is he close enough to get a John Jones fight? Would he be, if Stipe misses, does he fit in? Or is he the next fight after John Jones? After watching that fight, I'd say he probably loses to Jones because though he knocked out Curtis Blades was still landing on him fairly well. He's very hittable, which is a very scary thing to think in the UFC division. Interesting, before his fight, he was pictured at the casino losing all his monies on the pokies because he was in Las Vegas.
The pokies?
Yeah, he's literally sitting on the pokies just going and not getting anything out. But he got a big win. The other fight was Bobby Green got a KO win over Jared Gordon. Gordon, well known for losing in a fight that he probably should have won against Paddy Pimblett, and Pimlett's been calling him out for the rematch. Though this was ruled a no contest because Bobby Green coming in, there's a head clash, and the head clash kind of leads to the finish in this fight. It essentially knocks Gordon down. So it's ruled no contest. Bobby Green was a bit disappointed in that. He misses out, of course, on his performance of the night, money that he's hoping to get. If anything, the UFC runs it back. But it was a bit unfortunate in this one for Bobby Green, who's also been floating around there in the middle of the lightweight division, having some fun fights in the back end of his career.
He's stringing together a few wins as well, hasn't he, Bobby Green? That was a while ago.
Well, yeah.
Iaquinta and Huck Paras is what I was thinking of, but then Makachev, fair enough. And then Drew Dober, I'd forgotten about that one.
Yes. So, he's kind of been up and down. He's in that, like I said, fun fight kind of area. Getting Jared Gordon was a good fight, but unfortunately it ended up being a no contest. If we flip the script, boxing, the Tank beats Ryan Garcia in their bout yesterday. Knockout in the 7th round via liver shot. Some reports out today that, from Garcia's sparring partner, that he'd injured his body during training camp and that there must be a mole. They gave Tank the information and that's why he was targeting it. I think after 7 rounds, he's probably gone to the body a bunch anyway, and maybe he just wore him down. But the Tank and Garcia, outside of the heavyweights, outside of Canelo, Hanley, and Charlo, are kind of the big two. Had great records, hadn't had losses up to this point, but Garcia was handily losing this fight on all scorecards before the knockout by technical knockout by the body shot. And the Tank wins and keeps on rolling.
So Tank Davis's record is now 29-0 with that win over Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, so I don't think he picks up any extra belts in that. He still just has his lightweight WBA belts from that. But that was the big boxing card that's kind of been happening. Outside of that, there was a Misfits boxing card over the weekend. The most interesting note out of that, I think Le'Veon Bell won his fight against Tampa. Against JMX. I think that's how that went. But no one cared about that. The only news was Nate Diaz getting into fights with people in the crowd and then choking out a Logan Paul lookalike outside the arena. In a standing guillotine, which was pretty impressive. But that was boxing.
I'm just going back to that lightweight division. It is stacked.
Yeah.
Stacked. So Devin Haney's 29-0. You got Lomachenko, who is he back?
I don't know.
Yeah, obviously Ukrainian, and there was chat that he was actually, going out and fighting.
Well, Kambosos has been booked against someone. Let me check that real quick.
Kambosos is 20-2, obviously, for Aussie fans. Pretty keen to see who he'll be fighting. And then Gervonta Davis, he's 29-0, and Ryan Garcia goes to 23-1. So some really handy numbers there at the top of the lightweight division. Obviously, we're leaning a little bit more UFC. I know, Sean, you're right into your boxing, but it's
followed along in the background.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun division at the moment for a sport. Which I think, in terms of the people that I know, most people tend to lean a little bit more UFC these days.
Yes. It's a bit more mainstream. I can't find anything on Kambosa's fight there. He just said he turned down a Stevenson fight. He's ranked second there. And that one, I think there's conversations about Tank Haney is the next kind of big fight to make.
I think Haney and
Lomachenko is going to happen.
Is happening at 20
maybe,
May.
Oh,
maybe that's the
not
fight.
far.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's the fight I saw got announced. So yeah, the lightweight division has a lot of heat in it at the moment. A lot of good guys in the boxing.
I'm just going to say the last time that Vasily Lomachenko actually fought, because it might be a little while.
2022. No, October last year.
Yeah, it's not that long. So 9 months.
Oh yeah, well, he did. Well, he
about
did.
that.
He fought in December of 2021, then
And
didn't fight
had,
again.
and then I had a whole year off.
Yeah, he fights probably twice a year as an average. Understandable. And that's boxing. Golf, LIV Golf.
Yeah, normally we don't really talk about LIV Golf, but it was in Adelaide. So Adelaide getting their gather round for the AFL last week, and then getting the LIV Golf. I think they had something like 80,000, 90,000 people go over the 3 days.
Which is quality.
Yeah, they had the party hole set up there at the 16th at the Grange. Some scenes with Chase Koepka, brother of Brooks, nailing a hole in one, and then party time ensues. Lots of beer cups going up in the air. You can imagine the atmosphere when this one dropped.
It looked like it started raining.
Yeah, look at that. There is beer going everywhere.
I wonder how long they spent trying to clean it all up.
Absolutely loving it.
Oh, that looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Watch out for your ankles running around on that, because there's beer cups everywhere.
Yeah.
And Chase is fired up about it too.
As it would be.
Yeah, definitely doesn't mind a little bit of a beer shower there. So, look, that could have been a shout of beer candidate, but it looks like Chase would have, probably drank a little bit via osmosis there, if you will, after that ace on 16.
You should play the rally fight, the second one, because I saw this earlier.
This one?
Yeah, this is not working.
Bert Crusher's there. For anyone that likes a bit of stand-up comedy, Big Bert Crusher there in the crowd, shirt off as usual, and beer gut hanging out.
So finish your golf segment. Well, who ended up winning it?
Taylor Gooch. So, we like to talk about the stupid names of the teams in LIV Golf. So he plays for the Range Goats, and obviously great name in being Taylor Gooch. So he got the win. But it seemed like a massive success, a massive thing for Adelaide and South Australia, just living it up over the last 2 weeks with two huge events in Gather Round and LIV Golf.
Yeah, well, if ever it was a place to get around the LIV Golf concept and the way they kind of put on the event, it was being in Australia. So so get some Aussie larrikins out there; they'll love every minute of it.
I don't know how the Saudis feel about beer showers, but hey.
They probably wipe away their tears with all the money.
Some greenbacks. Yeah. That's right, indeed. And that was just the LIV Golf. What are we looking at here?
I just play. You can do the outro. I just saw this. These guys were fighting at a rally event.
So was this the one? Is this with protesters or is this different?
No. This is just these guys are sitting in the crowd on the hill.
Okay, and the fight has
just let it play.
Has fallen out onto what I assume is the rally track.
And the guys in the orange are clearing it out. Like, come on, get off.
And is there a car that's about to shoot through at some ungodly speed about to occur? That's where my mind is going. This Seki's walking over.
You should see the elevation and the height of this.
Where is this, by the way?
Probably France.
Yeah,
there's a France, Italy. Mate, it's Czech Republic. There you go.
Thank you.
And they're like, back off, Ken. Come on, everyone off. There you go. Settle down. And watch the height this car comes out through.
The Seki's getting a bit of a move on.
That's all right.
Comes through at head height.
Nah, if they were balling on the ground, it would have gone straight over him.
Yeah, it might have been okay.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a fun video. Obviously, we're watching it on 7news.com, so there would have needed to be some sort of explicit warning if it had ended up in
ended
disaster.
in some death. Yeah. Anyway. Finish.
That's
wrap
it?
us up.
That'll do us. So we're thinking maybe going to Friday nights.
Well, this was a Monday, so maybe we have to do another Sunday.
We'll figure
Friday
it out.
week. Anyways,
Yeah.
there may be a change of nights occurring, but we'll
It'll be around the weekends.
let you know on our socials, which we need to post on more. Thank you to anyone that's
Wait, what?
listening during the week. Hopefully you've had a nice Anzac Day for the Aussies there, and your team has not let you down too much at Dragons fans. And Bombers fans.
And Bombers fans.
All right.
Yep.
Hooroo, and we'll catch you next step.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.